And they have that in this thing for the 30 seconds of silence. Hang on.
Oh, you can like play a video or something. I would have to mute, but no, it's a good idea. All right, let me. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
I didn't start it yet because we're live.
Right.
So
we are live. So yeah. So we still need to do 30 seconds of silence.
Right. I'll throw that up.
Yep. All right. So 30 seconds of silence starting now. From a Gen X point of view is brought to you today by the letter
D, as in the death of college football.
Oof. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that today.
So let's begin a journey. It is a journey about the COVID-19 pandemic and sports in general. College football is a big multi-billion-dollar industry, right? Much like the NHL, NFL.
Except they don't have to pay their players.
Major League Baseball. Exactly. So part of this safety of keeping everyone safe, obviously no fans. They've already, made announcements that there won't be any fans.
Right. Yeah, that was already determined.
So, but boo. So that sucks. But for the players, so much is riding on these kids, like where they decide to go to school, the visibility that they get to be able to make it to the NFL. Jason's inability to mute his phone.
Sorry, carry on.
So really what it comes down to, and I saw an interesting Instagram clip or whatever that Stephen A. Smith did. Now, Stephen A. Smith, he's an old Philadelphia Inquirer sports reporter.
Oh, I know him very well.
He's a Philly guy. Yep. I don't like him. I really don't like him. Most of the time, I don't agree with what he's saying. However, today, he made an interesting and I believe valid point that as the conferences start shutting down and they say, okay, well, we're not going to have college football, which sidebar to that is most of the college coaches are like, let's figure out a way to play football outside of the conferences.
Because, they still want, they want to get
they want to get the players out on the field. They want to make sure to get their visibility because if college football is not happening, it's the impact is not just felt with that student athlete. That impact is with the school, their revenue stream. Like most schools are generating their revenue from college football, and it's supporting so many other their athletic programs. Talking to Brad this morning, and he mentioned that Stanford basically cut almost all of their non-football programs forever. Not just for the COVID season. They can't support financially these other sports.
So college football was carrying most of these programs.
And that's going to be the case for a lot of these schools. I think I touched on it last week a little bit, but the going through state college, right? Obviously Penn State fan. We haven't really gotten to our college football affiliations. Jason pretends to be a Michigan fan.
Yeah.
I'm a Penn State fan. My daughter goes to Penn State. She lives in State College. Right. Yeah. That's the only thing Michigan that you have within fucking 50 miles of here. Stop it.
I'm sure I can find something else.
Within 50 miles? Good luck. Going through State College when I was up there most recently with my daughter and looking at all these mom and pop motels, all the restaurants, all this business that is built around college game day. It's built around that Saturday. It's an entire weekend in State College, and I'm sure it's like that for almost every college football town. Is whenever there's a game in town that week, Beaver Stadium holds 108,000 people.
Oof.
That's 108,000 people, and the student section is only but so big, so it's not the student body that's filling up this stadium.
Right.
Fact is, a lot of the students are like, it's kind of a shit show. We'll party, but we're not necessarily going to be at the games.
Yeah. And we kind of touched on this last episode, how the economic impact of COVID, we haven't even begun to see the final amount of devastation that this thing is going to cause.
Yeah.
Just strictly to our economy.
Yeah. It's so college football, the towns that it affects, the student athletes that it affects. The big thing that Stephen A. Smith, coming back to that, was addressing was the ineptitude of college football and the NCAA body that governs college football.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to our podcast over the past few years, when we start getting into football, talking about college football, the college football playoff, and how much of a shit show that is.
Yeah.
You know, we went from a computer picking in the fucking BCS Bowl era to now we have a body of fucking 12 jurors that, you know, allegedly aren't fucking influenced by anything. They make these decisions.
Not at all.
Right. No, not at all. Hence why Penn State didn't go to the fucking college football playoff and Ohio State did, and it got the fucking ass handed to them. Anyway, fuck Ohio State. But it just goes to show that if these conferences decide, okay, no, we're not going to play college football, and then maybe within college football itself, the programs start arranging and figuring out how we can still play football, right, how we can still have that without the conferences, without the NCAA and their fucking their market-driven economy.
Isn't that how Notre Dame does it every year?
Well, yeah, they operate as that independent, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, Notre Dame is probably the worst of that because they're the fucking the bit of toilet paper that's hanging out in some fucking toilet ridden fucking ass hair that you just can't wipe off. It just won't go away, and it just happens to stay around long enough to be involved in everything. So I think the fact that they're independents, they're kind of part of the reason why you have to have this college football governing body, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, as opposed to the conferences, and it's a system that's flawed. The student athlete isn't properly represented. You know, I don't know that paying them is the necessarily answer, but some level of representation has to happen.
Oh yeah.
This time last year, we were having conversations about how in California, teams like UCLA, USC, California actually had, what was it? I think it was like Title 50 or something like that, where it was allowing for college football players to be compensated for their likenesses on like video games and things like that,
as they should be.
Right.
You know?
If you're using that individual's likeness, then it shouldn't. They're not selling their soul to the devil. Yes, there are a lot of benefits to being a scholarship athlete. Yeah. A lot of benefits. And there's a lot of benefits to school and everything else. We've created this system. We've created this thing on the backs of a student athlete. Mm-hmm. It's not the NFL. It's not Major League Baseball, where you're the development program is college football. Yeah. That's where they go to the NFL. There's no developmental league. There's none of that where they can showcase their skills. So college football is it.
Yeah.
And this billion-dollar industry is based on the backs of people that aren't being compensated for it, like the individuals that aren't being compensated for it. So maybe at the end of all this, even though it's going to if they don't play college football this season, it's going to suck 10 ways till fucking Saturday. But maybe at the end of this, we can start addressing some real issues with the student athlete and the fairness of their representation.
Yeah.
Having them, you know, even though they're scholarship athletes and they do have certain benefits of being able to go to the school, what the schools get, especially the Big Five schools, what they get out of having these student athletes, having this fucking 4 or 5 star recruit sign up for them, having these big signing days, showing up for draft day and everything else, the amount of visibility that they get when you're seeing a football player on Monday Night Football, what do they do when they introduce themselves? They say what fucking college they went to.
Yeah.
That's all part of the
Ron Bronson.
Yes.
San Diego State.
Crinkle McCrinkleson. Crinkle McCrinkleberry. But yeah, something has to change. Something has to change. And whether it takes the pandemic to fucking force that change, you know, you hope at the end of this that, yeah, we'll figure something out and they'll play some college football. I know looking through the chat and with some of the updating where, you know, some people have voted to do it within the Big Ten conference. Like, we're both Big Ten people, whether Jason knows it or not. Michigan actually is in the Big Ten, Jason. I'm just letting you know.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm here to help.
Okay.
But anyway, it's really, what hits this to me the most as like, I'm a huge sports fan. I'm a sport guy. I carry my nerddom far and wide, but you know, sports is one of those things that always has resonated with me.
Yeah.
And I got on Saturday night, I sat down and watched hockey for the first time in like forever.
Nice.
Right. Listen to the old podcast. You hear me rail on the Philadelphia Flyers and their handling of the fucking.
Didn't you say you were never going to watch them again?
And desperation is the root of all fucking evils. And I wanted to watch some organized fucking sports.
Yeah.
And so I sat down and watched the Flyers, beat Tampa Bay. I was like, oh, this is nice. This is nice sitting down and watching some fucking sports.
Yeah.
And
did it have fake crowd noise?
There was some like crowd noises, but they had like. So they're doing it like everything's in the same fucking stadium, right? So they have the lower seats all like kind of covered, and then they have big screens kind of in the background. So they're still doing like before the puck drops, they're still playing like the Norgans and shit like that.
Okay.
So it still has a lot of the game feeling, but you're fucking hearing a lot more of the skating. You're hearing a lot more of the fucking talking and shit like that because there's no ambient crowd noise.
Can we talk just really quick about the cardboard cutouts in baseball
and
some of the shit that's starting to pop up? Like when our mutual friend, I think it was Brian, posted the Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's, with the fucking sunglasses on, kind of slouched back as one of the cardboard cutouts. I'm like, no, there's no fucking way this is real. Somebody photoshopped that shit.
It was a real fucking thing. Here's my problem with Major League Baseball right now, especially the Phillies, is that I can't watch the games. I live in Philadelphia, right? But I don't have cable. Right. So NBC Sports that's hosting the games, I don't pay for Hulu Live anymore.
Right.
Local sports, I'm watching over the antenna. I can watch every Eagles game over the fucking antenna on 29 or 10 or whatever.
Yep.
In order to watch baseball, I need to fucking it's basically pay to watch, no matter which way I do it. So I've backdoored that. And I go through fucking Reddit. There's a whole fucking Reddit stream that you can go in every game and fucking they've got it streaming somewhere on that fucking thing.
Nice.
So when I want to watch baseball, that's how I watch it.
Okay.
Or I listen to it on the radio. But to me, that's part of that's where they're failing. Like all these great things that are happening with like cardboard cutouts and these stories and just being able to kind of sit down and have baseball on. You can't get in this area unless you're a Comcast subscriber because NBC is one of Comcast's bitches, and you have to have Comcast to fucking do it. So no, I'm not going to do that. I'll fucking stream the game and I'll listen to it on the radio, but I'm not going to be beholden to that anymore.
Oh yeah, no, we've moved past that.
Yeah,
talk about Generation X, right? And some of the technological advances that we've gone through. Streaming services, huge thing that's happened over the last decade or so.
Yeah. Fucking Bronco Fett's in the chat, right? Bronco Fett's a Boise State guy, right? Through and through. Like, wears his colors proudly every single day. Good on you. But he makes a comment. So student athletes would go to a school based on pay instead of education. I thought the Big Ten always did that. So that's it. If you really want to get into some of the numbers when it comes to why did my daughter go to Penn State? It's certainly not close. It's not a close school to where we are. It's a 4-hour fucking drive. Penn State has the largest alumni network in the country. It's a large school. There's a lot of students, but that generates a large student body. Graduation rates are high, and you're paying for a name. Let's face it, anytime you go to college anymore, if you're going to a specific thing, like if you're going to go to aviation, you're going to Embry-Riddle. If you're going to go for law, you're going to like Cornell. There's a list of these schools and their associated talents. Just by the name, saying a name of school, it's like, okay, this is what they specialize in.
Yeah.
Right. Penn State's probably like sports management or something, or turf management, because it's a farming community. Like that's what it is. It's a farming school.
That's funny.
But yeah, that's anytime you're going to a school, you're paying for the name. It's not necessarily the education you're getting. It's like, okay, I want to sit in a job interview across from somebody who, hey, there's a chance that this person's a Penn Stater. And they're going to look at my resume and go like, oh, you went to Penn State? Like, yeah, we are. and then that starts the whole thing. And it's a good icebreaker. And that's what it's there for. It's one of the reasons my son went to Rutgers, because for political science, where he wanted to major, it was one of the bigger schools. So
okay,
there's always been a name, and there's always been a marketing driver for this. Yeah. But yeah, the the letter of the day was D for the death of college football. In a matter of hours, we may find out that the Big Ten is canceled, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe they get some exhibition games going. I mean, who knows? It's not just the schools. It's not just the communities. It's not just student athletes. There's all the revenue lost, all this revenue stream lost. What's ESPN going to put on? What are all these networks going to put on over the fucking weekend?
And it's going to have a cascading effect. It's going to have a cascading effect to the broadcasters and even to the NFL itself. It's like you said, college football is their farm league. That's where they get all of their new recruits. So what's going to happen to these guys that were supposed to, be playing their last year of college, be it their senior year or if they were, early draftees or whatnot? They're basically missing an entire season. So are they just going to stay in another year of college, or are they going to take their chances going to the NFL?
So Micah Parsons, who is one of the Penn State players, a linebacker that no doubt in my mind, he's a first round draft pick. Okay. He would have played his senior year this year and then gone to the draft. Well, because of the COVID and the potential to not play and everything else, he decided to forego his fucking season. He's going to graduate in December and then he'll go to the NFL. He'll go to the draft.
Right.
So he made a decision. Look, they're business decisions. When you get to this level and you're a young adult and you have to decide, like, okay, this is going to decide whether or not I could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, or I could be signing a contract worth fucking $5 to $10 million a year. So you got to make that business decision. And you know what? For a school like Penn State and for most schools, that's a good thing. Sure. Because there's still that, hey, this Penn State player was good enough to come out and go out and go to the draft. Yeah. Does it affect Penn State and their ability to win football games? Probably. He's one of the best linebackers in the country. But it's better overall for the school. Next man up, and you fucking get the next kid out there.
It's a wheel that keeps on turning no matter what.
So do you know what isn't dead? You know what doesn't suck?
What's that?
Oh, you could Techno Hot Sauce.
Oh, that's right. It doesn't suck.
So Jason, right before we came on,
like
Jason,
literally minutes before we went live,
like was wiping his mouth of the fucking spittle.
In fact, I still might have some on me.
You're gonna lick your lips there? Just not in front of me. It's gross. What did you have today? What El Yucateco hotness did you have today?
Because I had to go to work today. And we had kind of a condensed schedule, and then some shit came up with Kristen to where she couldn't have dinner ready for me by the time I got home. She just decided to make a quick pit stop. She got me some Chipotle. She got me a big Chipotle burrito, which is fucking good. It has some, shredded pork on it and everything else. Anyway, brought it into the studio. Dave was already here. So I'm like, fuck it. Let's throw on some El Yucateco. I'm like, Dave, which one should I pick? And he said, pick the triple extra hot sauce, the salsa picante cutbil Ikde, the triple extra hot, extra picante.
I feel like your Spanish was better last week.
I haven't drank enough yet today.
So. That's it. Alcohol.
That's the key. So yeah, threw some of this on my burrito. Fucking good. The flavor. So you talk about El Yucateco and the flavor. The flavor of this triple X is so good if you can get past the heat factor, because it is also very hot. But if you can get past
it's triple X. It's one of their hotter ones.
Yes, but oh my god, it's so good once it hits your lips. So yeah, good shit.
It is good, and you can go and enjoy. God, this bottle is awful. Look at.
Well, all of them are, because they were all part of that package that had one bottle that exploded.
They sent us the bottle.
Thanks, post office.
Yeah, fucking post office. Which post office and COVID. You want some El Yucateco hot sauce? Do you want some? You, the listener, you can go to shopelucateco.com and you can find all the hot sauces, all the sweet gear, like these sporty socks that I'm holding up that they sent us. Thank you, El Yucateco. You can go to Amazon, look for them on Amazon. You can go on social media, see not just what Dave and Jason are saying about the espousing the virtues of fucking this amazing hot sauce. Go to social media, go to El Yucateco _hot sauce on Instagram, El Yucateco on everything else. And make sure, because I'm really enjoying all of our listeners that are actually getting out there and getting some of this hot sauce.
Yeah, they're buying El Yucateco. They're posting it on social media.
And it's fucking fantastic. But Spantastic? Yeah, I like it. Like it's fantastic. It's fantastic. There's probably some Spanish overlay in there somehow. If you go on social media and follow Yucateco, hashtag the or tag us at GenXPOV, hashtag GenXPOV or
Sure.
whatever. Hashtag
create the hashtag.
Hashtag we bought your hot sauce.
Indeed.
And you can use their hashtag as the king of flavor.
Indeed. All right. Good shit. So that being said, we had a nice preamble already. So let's just keep the show flowing, go right into our weeks. For me, my first note in here is the old vitamin A. I know I talked about this quite a bit on our previous podcast, but any new listeners might not be aware of Ambien and the fact that we've had access to it especially when we were aviators. You know, you're flying around the world, you're hopping time zones, multiple time zones over the course of a day, fucking being on the ground for 12 hours, then you quick turn, go to another fucking time zone. It really fucks up your internal clock and everything else.
Right.
So they would give us this Ambien to kind of regulate our schedules because, quite frankly, Ambien knocks you the fuck out.
And it's one of the main reasons is it's better than drinking yourself to sleep.
Yes, yeah, because that was the big thing. Because aircrew used to just drink themselves to death, which comes with a whole other set of circumstances and everything else. And what's up, Jeff? It's my cousin Jeff in the chat.
Nice.
So, the fuck was I talking about? Oh yeah. So after leaving the flying world, you know, I've continued to have sleep problems, especially the last 2 years or so that you and I were flying together.
Mm-hmm.
I was having terrible sleep problems.
Yeah, I remember.
It was bad. And that kind of carried on as I changed squadrons and everything else. And I don't know, we could dig deep into the root of why that is. But either way, the clinic has been kind enough to continue to give me Ambien on a not regular basis, but it's like I'll get fucking for a 6-month period of time, they'll give me like 20 tablets, right?
As an ad needed, you know,
exactly, because you don't want to be doing this on a daily fucking basis. You don't want to be dependent on this thing to fucking get you to sleep every night because you're just asking for trouble at that point. And one of the reasons why they don't just like hand it out willy-nilly is because it's got some crazy fucking side effects. And last night I was tripping balls on this stuff. It was bad. I was up and walking around. Kristen kept trying to tell me to go to bed. I'm fucking walking outside trying to avoid her.
So Ambien has a very specific set of rules that you're supposed to do when you take it that you don't follow. I know you don't because you've done this in the past where what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to prepare yourself to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You're in bed. You have a glass of water on the nightstand table. You pop an Ambien, you take a drink of water, get yourself settled down, and then you go to sleep. If you take an Ambien to wait for the fucking effects and then like, oh, I'll go to bed when I start feeling tired, that's when shit like this happens.
And that's typically what I do because, you know, I'm a busy guy. And if it's not time to go to sleep right now, if I've got a few extra minutes to kill, there's something I can be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then it's like
you bust my balls.
It's like when I start feeling the effects, it's like, ooh, okay, time to put the phone down, time to go to bed. Sometimes, I mean, that's what I'm thinking, like in the back of my mind.
Right.
But Ambien Jason, who's now tripping balls, has a whole other set of ideas of things that he wants to do. And unfortunately, Kristen is normally on the receiving end of all of that. And I know she hates it. So.
I want Kristen to videotape you.
Oh God.
On your Ambien trip so that we can break down exactly the level of psychosis that we're dealing with here.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. And there was I took one like a week ago, and the next day she's like, so do you want to talk about what happened last night? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you don't remember. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, you did this, this, and this. I'm like, I'm just looking at her with a blank stare. She's like, shut the fuck up. You really don't remember? I'm like, you could have said anything at this point, and I have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
And that's legit. Like Ambien will black you out.
Yeah.
You know, Ambien, the whole premise of Ambien is to tell your brain to like, okay, go to sleep. It's just like being blackout drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Like your body's doing whatever the fuck it wants to do. Meanwhile, your brain's like, okay, we hit the lights off. Why are we still moving?
Yep.
You know, what was that used in elementary school? Was it Heads Up 7-Up or something like that? Where you like had
yeah. Oh, by the way, Jeff, if you're still on the chat, I do have a story about you later on as we talk about our movie going experience in the 90s. The movie that you and I saw where we had to show our IDs to get in. We'll get into that. But
oh boy.
So moving on with my week, you know, I'm a big guy. I talk about exercising and working out and everything. I talked about it a lot in our previous podcast. Now, don't get it twisted, people. when I say that I'm into, exercising and working out, I'm not fucking Joe Rogan. I'm not just fucking ripped to shit. This only started for me in 2018, I think it was, is when I first started working out for the first time. So don't think that I'm some just fucking like monster, like steroidy, beefcakey workout kind of guy.
I would give yourself some credit, and I know prior to us even starting our previous podcast, you were conscientious enough about like, okay, I need to be working out. I need to be able to take better care of myself. The infamous incident with you on Twitter, because you were calling out everybody about, hey, you can be a nerd and not be a fat fuck, basically.
Yeah. And then, of course, I was the devil, apparently. Yeah. So, yeah. But I mean, through all this, obviously, I had a big downturn when COVID happened and when we caught the fucking virus. And I'm slowly starting to crawl my way back up. I ran again this morning, ran 2.5 miles today. I've been lifting a lot, and I'm finally starting to actually see some results of my lifting. I've been back to lifting for almost a month now.
Nice.
I think. So I'm slowly starting to see it in my arms again. I'm not fucking Arnold, but I mean, I'm slowly starting to see that definition come back.
Nice.
So it's good. It's a good feeling to actually see the results of the work that you're putting in.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to seeing said results, although other than just fucking feeling like I fell down a set of stairs.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like I said last week, it's all about persistence and sticking with it and everything else. I had somewhere else I was going with that and I totally lost it, but we did get something in the mail from Sandcrawler Studios, our friends over at the Escape Pod podcast.
That's right.
The guys who came out for our 100th episode of the All Things Star Wars podcast. And I meant to open this last episode. Yeah, I forgot, whatever. So Dave, do the honors.
Jason did Jason things.
I did. It's like I said, I've got a lot going on. So we're going to go ahead and do this during our weeks. Dave's got the knife. No idea what's in this fucking thing, by the way. I did feel something hard in there.
Ah, that's what she said.
Indeed. It is what she said.
It's double bagged, too.
Also what she said?
Well, only if you really want to be sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for fuck's sake, guys.
Riveting for the audio audience, I'm sure. Or the video, for that matter. Now, if Dave cuts his finger off trying to open this thing, that would
be the problem. Is I use this knife to cut carpet, and it's dull as fuck right now. And there's nothing more dangerous than a dull knife. Write that shit down, kids.
Your daily life lesson from Dave Martin.
Yeah.
Man, you guys wrapped this up good.
Yeah, you did. Good enough where the fucking, as opposed to the people that handle the El Yucateco fucking box.
Do you need the guy who works out to open that for you? He refuses to acknowledge that comment.
Well, I mean, we could just
arm wrestle for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the first thing I'm pulling out. Oh, nice. So the Escape Pod guys, otherwise, like Jason said, are galactic refugees that had come out for our 100th episode. They have their podcast called Escape Pod. You can find them all the same places you can find us. Give them a holler. They're good. They're fucking funny.
Yeah, good dudes.
They're good. They're good Jews, and they're fucking super into stickers. So what?
Nothing.
Yeah, and they're super into stickers, which means that their sticker game is on point.
Yes.
So follow those guys. They have a Patreon that you can go and support them with. And
there's a magnet in here. 2 magnets. That's why it felt so heavy.
Nice. If we had a refrigerator in here, we could fucking stick it on there.
Indeed, we could.
Yeah. So
what else is in the box?
Here's
What's in the box?
We got Last Flight of the Harbinger, Star Wars comic. It's a graphic novel.
Nice. Is there a TIE fighter on there?
There's not. It's an X-wing.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a Imperial Star Destroyer? There's a whole fuck ton of X-wings, actually. Not a single TIE fighter on here? Interesting.
There's got to be a reason why they sent that specific one.
Oh, curious. Oh, there's...
We'll have to figure it out.
Some good art in here.
Yeah. Again, riveting for the audio audience.
Oh, what? Oh, I was reading the fucking amazing graphic novel. Thank you.
Is that Obi-Wan?
Think so.
Oh yeah.
Looks like a young Luke.
Yeah. These are the Star Wars. The Star Wars comic. That we started to review on the podcast. Star Wars #1, Star Wars #2. The ones that took place between fucking
Is it
episode 4 and 5? Yeah, because those fucking Obi-Wan interludes are from that.
Yeah, but that's Luke. That's not. No, it's a different story.
Whatever. All right, can we move on, please? Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I will enjoy this, even though Jason, obviously, reading is fundamental. Check out the guys on the Escape Pod. It's not just a Star Wars podcast. They cover all sorts of shit with pop culture, video games stuff.
They just covered The Rocketeer. Remember
they did.
that movie?
They did. So... And I think the next episode is on. I think it's a top 5 list, top 10 list. Follow those guys. Follow the Escape Pod,
and you will do it.
Do it.
So that's really my week. What about you?
Let me check the notes.
What did I do this week?
Yeah. So it seems like it was only a weekend. It only seems like it was a couple of days. So I didn't really have much to do. However, had a little date afternoon with the wife. We went sunflower picking. Which I
didn't even realize was a thing until I saw your social media.
Oh yeah, it's totally a thing. And thankfully it was local and it was relatively inexpensive. However, those lantern fucking bugs that you're supposed to kill if you fucking see them. We have this in the Northeast. I'm not sure how prolific it is across the country, but there's these things called lantern bugs. It started last year. Like, hey, if you see these fucking things, kill them.
You're not talking like fireflies.
No. They're called lantern bugs. They're about that big. They're spotted, and apparently they're super invasive. So if you see them, you have to fucking kill them. Yeah. We're in this fucking sunflower farm, and those fuckers were everywhere. I mean, I would have to have taken a fucking strafing around with a fucking F4 and a bunch of napalm to fucking make sure that they were eliminated.
Spotted lanternfly, according to Lunar Grill.
Yes. What did I say?
Lantern bug.
Whatever. Spotted lanternfly. Thank you. But yeah, they were all over this fucking place. And it was so funny because Kathy's standing there. It's like, oh, what about this one? And I'm like, oh, this one has a bee in it. I'm like, that's not a bee. Like, she's looking at completely other thing. I'm staring at it right in the face of this fucking spotter and lanternfly. I'm like, these are things I'm supposed to kill it. But I'm like, in order to kill this, I'd have to eliminate a lot of these sunflowers around here, and I'm not paying for all that. So
right.
I was just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it. But yeah, fucking the bugs, the amount of bugs that are in these fucking sunflowers. Kathy went through this whole process of like drowning the flower, like, which is supposed to make all the bugs jump off.
Right.
And she's like, you got to see all these bugs. I'm like, no, I don't actually. You could have just put them in a container and left them out and everything would have been fine. No, we're having a fucking bug drowning party in our fucking kitchen. So, yeah. Something's happening in Boise. The Fets are communicating via our chat. This could be breaking news at some point.
Okay. Is this in reference to the college football?
I have no idea.
All right. Well, continuing on then.
We'll see. Spider and Lanternfly. Lunar Girl says they're dicks. So that'll tell you everything you need to know.
Yep.
Lunar Girl loves everything there is to love out there in the world, and except for fucking Ohio State fans. And anyway, yeah, so sunflower picking, and then after that, got back to the house. This was the first weekend where I didn't really have like schoolwork or some fucking burden that I had to bear that I like. If I had gone and done something, it would have been neglected. So unfortunately, Kathy still has homework. Like she's her class got another couple, or this week she's done with her summer semester.
Okay. So
I'm like, you know what? I want to fly the drone around. I want to fly it someplace different than in my local area and get out of the fucking Class B airspace, so I'm not getting hollered at by fucking people I knew as children fucking getting on there and be like, hey, by the way, you're in a Class B airspace. I'm like, yeah, I know. I violated the fucking airspace. I don't give a shit. It's with a fucking...
Dave don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into that. So drove out to Winslow Junction. So if you follow at Philly Dave 75, you'll see I posted posted some pictures, I think, or follow my YouTube channel, whatever. I posted a video of going down there to see these trains, and it was reminiscent of a movie that I'm sure we're going to talk about at length, like in Jurassic Park. You know how when they're driving in and there's these small dinosaurs that are just kind of running.
Mm-hmm.
I pull into where I had to find where the trains were because they had pushed them down this abandoned section of track.
Yeah.
And I'm driving amongst 24 wild turkey, like young wild turkeys.
Nice.
But there's a dozen of them and they're running just like that in Jurassic Park. and the road was kind of bumpy too. So I'm like, I wanted to get my phone, but it would never turned out right. The fucking shit would have been bumping all over the place.
Yeah.
But it's fucking turkeys everywhere. And then when I'm in, like, it's in this like wooded area in the pines, and
I have a comment about this when you're done.
Yeah, there was no fucking dick ticks in this particular venture.
Yeah.
But so I'm I fly the drone, and I know what Jason's gonna say. All right, so there's these abandoned train cars, right? And I've been
covered in graffiti.
Covered in graffiti.
So it's not like they're hidden from all fucking human eyes. People have been in there.
Yeah.
So Dave's out there all by himself flying the fucking drone around these abandoned trains. And I'm just like, Dave, look out. You're going to get raped. Like some fucking crackheads are going to pop out of this fucking abandoned train and they're going to hold him down and do whatever to him.
Dude, so I had that thought. So initially, where these trains used to be, on my Instagram feed, like a couple years ago, I went to this spot for the first time, and there was engines and there was a couple of different cabooses and a whole bunch of train cars. Well, I went to the same spot and there was a caboose and a fucking boxcar, and those other train cars were gone. Like, where the fuck did they go? So I went out on the tracks and looked down, and this is at like an intersection, a busy intersection. So there's really it's like very low threat. So I look down the tracks and a half mile down, I can just see the back end of one of the cars.
Right.
And so I went on Google Maps and and zoomed down and saw that the tracks like terminate down there. So I'm like, oh fuck, they must have pushed them all down there. So I get in a car, drive in the middle of the this vineyard, get on a dirt road, come off this dirt road, surrounded by dinosaurs like I'm in Jurassic Park, and then finally get up to this spot. Well, since it's a little bit more isolated and a little bit more secluded, I decided I was going to fly the drone. Like, I was standing close to the car. I flew the drone out and basically buzzed the entirety of the train cars that were there.
Yeah.
Just to check it out. Like, see if any critters were going to jump around, if any.
You did some recon.
Yeah, I did. I have a fucking recon device and I fucking used it as such.
Yeah.
So I knew I was in the clear when I went down there. It's still a little bit scary. I'm not going to lie. But I had my trusty knife on me, and I was really not worried. But it's just one of those things you just don't want to deal with. You just want to fucking enjoy it. Took a lot of cool pictures. Got a lot of cool drone footage. Yeah,
I made that YouTube video.
I did. I made a YouTube video, Philly Dave 75 on YouTube, if you want to see it. And that is pretty much it. Oh fuck! So I wish IVOG was here because he'd love this. So. Do the drone thing, right? And Kathy and I drove to the sunflower thing. I'm barely driving ever. Like, I haven't drove like any legitimate thing for a long time. Like since I went out to State College and back, and that was like the first time I'd driven in like a month.
Right.
So, and I think the gas that was in the car was still the same gas that I got from State College when I drove back.
Oh shit.
So driving. Did that small drive to like where the sunflowers were, came back, went out, started my little excursion down to Winslow Junction. It was about a half hour away. And I get down there, fucking around, get in the car. I'm like, I wonder how close I am to that World War I thing that Jason was at. Right.
Oh,
so it was 15 minutes away. I'm like, okay, cool. So boop, 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 throw it in a GPS, start driving towards there. Because I'm in like Winslow Junction is like the Hamilton border. Like down that way. So I throw in a GPS, start driving. Bing! The fucking low fuel light comes on. Like, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. All right, let me wave off of this. So I'm gonna I don't like getting gas anywhere but Wawa.
Right.
There's just so many fucking sketchy gas stations that are gonna rip off your fucking credit card and all sorts of shit. They didn't have cash on me to give cash. So I'm like, fuck. If I have to use a card, I need to go to Wawa.
Mhm.
So I'm a Wawa snob that way. I have these gas stations that I trust, and this is the only, if I'm not putting the gas in myself, then I want the kids at Wawa to do it.
Sure.
So I throw Wawa into the fucking GPS, like, oh, there's one in the middle of town here, blah blah blah, 15 minutes away. Okay, cool. I should be fine. Driving, you know how when your car's getting low on gas, how it starts acting a little bit different,
Like where you start to feel the.
Yeah, well, no, not quite that bad, but
Okay.
just like the response effort from the gas pedal was starting to wane.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck.
I bet that's a failsafe they put in to where your gas pedal isn't as responsive, so you can't burn the last of that fuel.
Perhaps. Well, it said I had like 30 miles to empty, but I don't know how accurate that is.
Right.
And I really didn't want to test it out, but apparently I'm going to learn today.
Yeah.
So put the Wawa in the GPS, finally get there, no fucking Wawa. So I stopped using the Waze app because of shit like this.
Yeah.
Like I used to use the Waze app when I was commuting. It was good. You fucking figure out where the police are, whatever. It's actually a very handy app. But it will do shit like this. I'll put in, it'll say there's a Wawa at this location. Unless you fucking go to wawa.com and verify that it's there, for me, it's been a 60% chance it's not going to be there.
Holy shit.
So I'm like, what the ever loving fuck? So it gets it, and literally it's an empty field, like not really a field, maybe.
So it's like there was never a Wawa.
No, never.
Okay.
And it's in between two other gas stations. So here's my dumbass with my Wawa snobbery. Like yes, I know there's gas stations right here, but I insist on going to a Wawa. So I keep driving. Fuck it. I keep driving. I start heading to the fucking expressway. And I started zinging and zagging. I was like, okay, I put another Wawa into the fucking GPS. I'm like, cool, it's on the way.
Were you using a different app at this point?
No, same app. Because why would I change at this point?
Yeah.
So start going to that Wawa.
What's up, Anna?
Get to that fucking Wawa. Not a gas station.
Oh, just
one of the few that are left that are just a regular fucking strip mall Wawa.
Wow.
I'm like, and I'm starting to pull up to the intersection. I'm like, that's not like, that doesn't look like there's going to be a gas station there. And sure as shit, there wasn't. I'm like, fuck. So now I'm in the middle on 322 in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like it's a highway. It's like a route through the state that if I stay on it, it'll take me all the way to fucking the Commodore Barry Bridge. There's not another gas station for 10 miles. So now I'm fucking already leaking towards the bottom of my fucking gas tank. Oof. And I'm like, so I keep going on 322. It's like, fuck it. At least I'm on a major roadway, not in the middle of fuckery.
That is true.
And I made it to a Wawa. I got filled up. But I'm
so
like,
what were you down to at that point?
Oh, miles left?
Yeah.
I think it said 18, something like
that.
Yeah,
I never would want to cut it that close.
Yeah, never. And I usually don't. I'm usually one of those people like, if it's less than a quarter tank, it's time to fill up.
Yeah.
But because we haven't been driving, like me personally, I haven't been driving that car. There's no reason to fucking have it sitting in my driveway for a month with a full tank of gas.
Yeah.
It's just,
And that has been one pleasant side effect of the whole COVID thing. Haven't been spending a whole lot of money on gas since the whole fucking lockdown and everything else started. So, but then you have incidents like this where you stop thinking about, filling up for gas.
I'm just cruising along, fat, dumb, and happy, thinking about all the adventuring I'm going to do with my drone. Next thing you know, bing, gas light fucking comes on. Now, hang on. Let me see something here. I got to get caught up in the chat.
There's a lot going on. We got a lot of people in the chat today.
Apparently, Mountain West Conference just canceled fall sports. Fuck. So it's another one bites the dust. Refer to the letter of the day. And then I saw somebody mentioned that for the NFL they should play all the games at fucking Jerry's World.
Oh,
and first of all, I couldn't do it. I couldn't support that.
Yeah.
I can't. I hate the fucking Cowboys. And the fact that fucking star would be on every fucking football game. If they tried to do something like the NHL is doing or the NBA is doing, and that fucking star, if I have to look at that fucking star every time I want to watch football, I'll shoot somebody. I will fucking eliminate somebody. The first fucking Cowboys fan on here that flies with a big flag on their truck, like, hey, look, I'm a Cowboys fan. Boo, 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 boo. Right? Just because they want to fucking get attention. Right? These fuckers that just enjoy getting the fuck beat out of them at football games. because like, oh, look at me, I'm not an Eagles fan. I'm driving around Eagles country, flipping everybody off. Yeah, you get beat up in the fucking parking lot of the fucking stadium because you're a douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
And to see that douchebag fucking star waving in front of me every fucking football game will make me hurt somebody. You heard it here first, kids. No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
fuck Jerry's World. There's not even look. They don't even have the. Yeah, it's a big fucking stadium, but they don't have the. You don't need a big fucking stadium like that to support no fans.
Yeah, because there's no fans. So what's the fucking difference? For me, and also, isn't Texas one of the big hotbeds still for fucking COVID right now?
And we've been in that area. We've had to train down there and do everything.
God, the traffic's terrible.
The traffic's bad. There's not enough hotels and shit to support that.
That's true.
Really.
Yeah.
So
though that Hilton, that like fucking 10-story Hilton or whatever that we used to always stay at right by the Dallas airport there, nice fucking hotel, but I mean
that's nowhere near the stadium.
No, yeah, and you wouldn't be able to.
Oh, it's fuck Dallas. There's fucking fucks.
Yep.
Luna Girl's brother went to Cowboys jail once. That is a story that at some point I think we have to have her on the show, and we're going to force her to tell that story.
For sure. So, all right. Anything else for your week before we move on?
I just wanted to mention, since we have been doing a little space nerding here on the pod, the meteor shower, the Perseid meteor shower, peaks this week. So we're taping on August 10th. So throughout this week, if you're, following along on YouTube or watching us on Facebook Live and all those other things, the peak of the meteor shower, I think, is going to be on Wednesday morning, like somewhere between 2 a.m. and dawn. So if you're into that, if you're into getting some good pictures and shit like that, that'll be the time.
But if you have to work like the rest of us, fuck it.
Yeah. Well, you got it. Some sacrifices have to be made.
I know.
Do you know my wife had never seen, like, it was well into our being married, she had never seen a shooting star
really
ever.
Yeah, I didn't see one for the first time until I was probably like a teenager or maybe late teens.
Yeah, I don't know. I think really what it comes down to is I spent most of my upbringing looking up airplanes, space, stars, all that shit. Like I'm always constantly looking up. So at night, when you're constantly looking up, you get to see more, and that's just I have
a good story about that. My cousin Jeff's in the chat right now. Growing up, when we were teenagers, his dad had this like fucking badass telescope,
right?
And there was a point. First of all, when Halley's Comet was a thing, I went to their fucking house and we were looking for Halley's Comet in their fucking in their telescope, and I remember his dad honing in on Saturn, like finding it with the telescope and everything. And, me looking up just with the naked eye, they're all just dots. They're all just white dots in the sky. It's like, okay, whatever. He's like, and Jeff's dad called me over. He's like, Jason, look in the telescope right now. And I looked in, and sure as shit, I could see this fucking tiny circle, but with the rings around it. And I'm looking at Saturn and the fucking rings around Saturn, and I'm just like, holy shit, that's fucking awesome.
Shit gets real fucking quick.
Yeah.
I think my kids, the first time they got to see like legit, I think it was Saturn and Jupiter were in the sky. It was 4th of July. We were at what's the name of that observatory in LA? It's in downtown LA. There's an observatory. It's a famous one. It's been in all the fucking movies and all that shit whenever they go to some observatory. Fuck! Somebody help me out in the chat.
I have no idea.
You're a California guy. You don't know the fucking. It's one of the more famous observatories.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I can see it.
It's like a white building.
So
anyway, we were there at the one night, and what they did is they put telescopes. They had telescopes all out in this field, and so you could go up and you could fucking see what they were trained on. Some they had one trained on, I think, on Mars. They had another one on Saturn, another one on Jupiter, and another on the moon. And they got to look through the telescope and actually get that. Legit telescopes, more than I have right now. Currently, I just have a set of astronomy binoculars, which are good, but it's not like that good. It's not telescope good.
Right.
But the first time you see shit like that and you see the shadow of the rings on a planet. So it's you almost can say like, oh, that little, that ellipse that's going around it, that maybe that's just my eyes. And then you realize that thing is throwing a shadow on the fucking ball of it. And you're like, fuck. I've actually gotten to see Jupiter close enough where the shadows of, I think it was the shadow of Titan, I want to say.
Oh, of the Moons?
Of the Moons.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's the sidebar of sidebars, but
Yeah.
I was a Boy Scout. I was the worst Boy Scout ever, right? But I was down in the Chesapeake I think I took the astronomy merit badge like 4 times just because I enjoyed taking that merit badge. Even though I had the merit badge, I was into that.
Okay.
And it had a telescope, and fuck, I lost my train of thought. It was a good it was a good fucking telescope, and we actually there was a couple of nights down there where I think I want to say it was with Mars, like it was one of the time when Mars was super super close, like in the 80s, and got a really good look at Mars. And from that point forward, I was like a Mars junkie for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Like, learning about the moons and Phobos and Thebos and like this whole thing, and like getting super super into Mars, which it kind of springboards fucking 20, 25, 30 years later into all the Mars shit we're doing
now.
So.
When we actually land a fucking vehicle on the planet, which that's got to be a whole episode in itself.
Absolutely.
But
anyway,
I think we're ready to move on to today's episode, which we didn't actually talk about at the top of the show, what we're talking about today.
I thought we did, didn't we? No?
I don't think so. So what are we talking about? Just let's recap, just in case if we did miss it at the top of the show.
What's the title of the YouTube feed? Movie going in the 90s.
Yeah.
So, and this is a very vague thing, but I think the nexus of this is we were talking about some things. It's not just about these movies. Yeah, obviously there's a fuck ton of movies that we can talk about how they influenced us and influenced our.
Yeah, and we're going to touch on a few individual movies themselves, but for the most part, it's just that movie going experience what it was like.
Yeah, what the difference is now compared to what it was in our younger days.
Yeah. And as I'm doing my research for this, and I'm just thinking about it, I'm trying to put myself back in the mindset of Jason in 1990. And the really unique thing is, and this is my first note, is when we started the 90s, at least for me, I was still going to the movies with my family. Like whenever I would go to the movies, it would either be with me and my family or with like my best friend Rob and his family kind of thing. Because, I was fucking in 1990, I was 13 and a half. So, obviously wasn't driving to the theater myself, fucking paying my way into the theater or anything else. Which fast forward, by the end of the 90s, at the end of the decade, I was going to the movies every other fucking weekend with the woman that would eventually become my wife. So it's just an interesting shift for that decade, from the start of it to the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really, really interesting.
Well, so much happened too, like in the 90s in particular. For me, I started high school in 1990.
Yeah.
So
which I started in 91.
So I was like coming out of 8th grade, going into that next phase of my life.
Yeah.
In the turn of the decade. And I can tell you right now, like, bottom line up front for me, I had to really, really fucking research to figure out movies that I may have seen in the theater.
Oh, trust me, as I'm going through the list of movies that were released, I started with 1990 and I went through a good portion of the early 90s, like looking at every major movie release from each decade. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, fuck, did I see that in the theater?
Exactly.
Or did I see that when we bought the fucking VHS?
Exactly, because it's a good segue to, or not that we're doing that, but the video era. Like, okay, I'm not going to see that in the theater. I'll wait till it comes out on tape.
Yeah, wait till it's 1999 on VHS, and then fuck yeah, we'll own it forever.
Yes, exactly. What? Yeah, for me, there was my moving on experience, from what I can remember, is limited to things that the experience had to stand out for me.
Right. And the ones that I remember that I know for sure I saw in theaters, there was an experience tied with it.
Right, exactly.
So, and we'll get into some of those stories.
Fucking 30 years later.
Yeah. And just kind of talking about the primary means. I'm sure you and I have very different stories. I can see our notes here, but starting in the 90s, the biggest venue that I saw movies in at the start of the 90s was this drive-in theater in Bakersfield, California. The Crest Drive-In, still a very iconic drive-in movie theater. If you go, I'm part of a couple of like Bakersfield Facebook groups and everything, and like every week you'll see somebody post a picture of the old Crest Drive-In. It no longer exists, sadly. But yeah, that was how I experienced a good portion of the movies growing up, because A, it was cheap. You know, you just paid a flat fee for a fucking car. Half the time, if it wasn't me and my buddies in high school shoving fucking 12 of us in the back of a fucking Chevy Silverado, you know, it was like me and my friend and his parents, and then another friend and a friend of the parents, you know, all shoving ourselves into one fucking car going into the drive-in theater. So, you know, it was Bakersfield. We weren't the richest people in the world. So for most of the 80s and then bleeding a little bit into the 90s, that was how we experienced movies. Then slowly we started getting introduced to some higher end theaters, which was the East Hills Theater. So the East Hills Mall was like the new hotness in Bakersfield in the early 90s.
Okay.
It was supposed to be the growing section of Bakersfield. It was where everything was supposed to be happening. They built this brand new mall and a movie theater attached to it. It was a United Artists. And it did not take long for them to figure out, it's like, fuck, we made the wrong choice, because very quickly around the East Hills area, it became the ghetto. But the theater stood for years. In fact, funny story is Kristen, for the year that we moved back to Bakersfield, starting in 2000 to 2001, worked at that fucking movie theater, that East Hills United Artists movie theater. So
fucking crazy.
It's weird kind of thinking about that in the context of everything else. But yeah, that was still the best theater in town for years. And we also had a budget theater open up, which was this old fucking rickety theater in the downtown area that had been abandoned and forgotten about. They reopened it, and it was literally like you'd pay 50 cents to watch like 2 to 3 movies at this fucking thing back to back to back. But they were older movies, like movies that had been released in theaters 3 to 6 months prior.
Right.
You know, but when you're a fucking teenager, you don't give a shit.
So it begs the question, because when I was going through some of these, going through the movies, much like you did, like kind of rolling through the list, trying to dredge out what I'd fucking seen in the theater. Like some titles I noticed that, like, I saw this at a time when it was not its initial release.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact, based on the experience and who I was with, that it had to have been in this time. So then it made me think about, like, oh, how many fucking re-releases did I really see? Because similar to you, like, drive-in experience. We talked about the drive-ins before.
Yeah.
There was you couldn't swing a dead cat around here without hitting a drive-in.
In Jersey.
Yeah. Just in this area. You had one on fucking 73. You had one on Route 30. You had one on a White Horse Pike, one on a Black Horse Pike in Camden. There was another one down a little bit further in the Black Horse Pike. Like, within 10 miles of here, there's at least 4 drive-ins.
That's crazy.
At one point. Now, I don't remember in the 90s actually making it to a drive-in. I just don't recall one, but I saw your note about the drive-ins, and it made me think, yeah, fucking drive-ins were prolific at that time. And it was a cheap way to go experience a movie.
Yeah.
You know, as good as hopefully your FM radio was good.
Well, see, the Crest in Bakersfield, they didn't have that FM radio dial-in option. They had the fucking metal ass speakers, the fucking pole that came out, a speaker for, you know, this car and the speaker for that car, and you hook that fucking thing to your window. This thing was heavy, it was old and fucking rusty.
There was one down in Williamstown, I think, that was like that. Most of them, I remember them transitioning to where we were listening to it on the radio. Yeah. But I have distinct memories of being in the station wagon, the old green fucking station wagon, and the window, like, tenuously supporting this fucking 15-pound microphone that sounded like absolute dog shit.
Oh yeah, that little bitty turn dial for volume, and it's like,
yeah. So, and I ended up sitting on top of the fucking station wagon, you know. Anyway,
and that's what a lot of people did, or a lot of people came in fucking pickup trucks,
right?
You know, you'd fucking back the pickup truck in, you'd sit in the fucking truck bed, and you'd have your fucking blanket. People would be making out. I'm sure people were fucking in some other cars.
Fuck yeah. Well, so sidebar. Speaking of pickup trucks, right? So this station wagon that we had was my poor father was working on this thing every fucking weekend. Like, legitimately, he would work all week, and then on the fucking weekends, it was working on a car. Which, granted, it got me a lot of experience, like handing tools, working on cars, and learning a lot of good curse words. But like that fucking station wagon, it was a Gran Torino, right? It's circa 70 something, and it was it had a traditional fucking tailgate like a truck. So like the back section of it, so you had vinyl, it was vinyl fucking seats.
Nice.
Right? But the back half of it was like basically a truck bed. You know, because that's how station wagons were. They were fucking these ginormous cars that with all covered up to the back. It had a fucking tailgate, and you would be able to go and sit on the fucking tailgate and see a movie or go to the beach and do that type of stuff within the station wagon. It's fucking brilliant. The fact that we've gotten away from the tailgate days, like SUVs and everything else, like I always pine for. I miss having the tailgate.
And because there was a social aspect to that too, because I know for me, like we'd have sometimes like 2 or 3 people all come together in like 2 or 3 different cars, and it'd be like a tailgating experience.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be a social thing, you know, either before the movie starts or between movies. You know, you'd be fucking milling around, talking to everybody else in the other cars, and it's great.
I wish this SUV era that we're in had more tailgates in it because the lift gate, you know, it's convenient or whatever, but I miss the tailgate days.
Yep.
Anyway.
Sure. Then we also both experienced, probably about a year difference from each other, military-based movie theaters.
Yes.
So that was another thing where sometimes you wouldn't get a movie at a base theater until 3 to 6 months after it had been released.
Almost a year. It had definitely been. It took a fucking minute.
Oh my God. So I was in, where was I? I think I was in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. I was in San Antonio, Texas. I was down there for summer for my my radio operator school.
Okay.
That's right, for row school. Right before, well, actually, it was about the time you and I met. And like no air conditioning in this fucking theater. And I'm watching the movie Troy. Remember Troy with fucking Brad Pitt?
Wasn't that like 3 hours long or something?
It was really long. And it had fucking Brad Pitt in it and everything else. No, this was in Oklahoma. Sorry. This was when I was at boom operator training.
Okay.
At fucking Altus, Oklahoma, which is even worse than San Antonio, Texas. And no air conditioning in this fucking theater. I sat through this fucking movie Troy, which was kind of a snooze fest, quite frankly. And I'm just drenched in fucking sweat as I'm watching this fucking 3-month-old movie, and I'm bored as shit, and I'm sweating profusely.
Dude, the one thing about the base theaters was a couple of interesting things that normal movie-going experience they don't have.
No.
You go in there, and prior to the movie starting, they play the Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah.
So if you're in uniform, you have to stand at attention and, you know, hand over your heart the whole bit right before the fucking movie started.
Oh yeah, every time. I'm sure they still do it today.
Yeah, I haven't been in a base movie theater since I was pulling alerts on 135s.
Damn.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
I've been more recently than that, and they were still doing it. So,
but yeah, and it was the base theater, generally speaking, was not some place where they were putting a lot of money into it either.
No, it's like those budget theaters I was telling you where you paid 50 cents for a triple feature. Before
we get too far away from that budget theater, I wanted to throw a dart at. It was a movie experience. I think that kind of spawned this conversation initially. Hang on. Before I get into that, let me make sure.
Sidebar of the sidebar.
Well, no, I want to make sure that we're not going to cover it later because I just realized I didn't add it to my list.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a Rocky Horror Picture Show experience.
Oh yeah.
So
I did not put that in the notes.
Yeah. But... So I know we had a theater that the only time I'd ever been in this theater was for Rocky Horror because they did a Friday night, like the Rocky Horror Picture experience every Friday night where you could go and you could have the full fucking experience, throwing rice, fucking toast, like all the other
like
shit.
Putting the virgins up front.
Yeah. The whole fucking experience. And the first time we went, it was me and my buddy Jeff, my buddy Sean, and I forget who else was with us, but when the rice scene got thrown, I think it was the toast scene. Somebody stood up and fucking threw toast right into his fucking face. So it hit him in the eye and his eye like watered over. So he didn't even see the rest of the movie because his eye was all fucked up after this thing. So I don't think he ever went with us again, but it was one of those super like rundown theaters and it made its money. It wasn't super expensive either. You go in there and you had this entire, I think the several times I went in there, it was never not sold out or it was pretty close to capacity. And that's where they made their money. They made their money on a Friday night. Everything else, they had, you know, they weren't first run movies.
Yeah.
But they were playing movies in there.
So here's a story which kind of combines with what we were talking about before. This was 1998. Okay, we need to request some more ice. Hold on, let me just completely derail everything real quick while I ask for, can we get more ice, please? Question mark.
I mean, honestly, I think you could have done that while you were talking. Like, have you lost that ability to?
I don't know if I could ever do that. Like, talk on a podcast and text different words to somebody else. I don't
Mm.
think that's possible. Anyway,
I do it all the time.
fall of 98. Saddam Hussein keeps kicking the fucking weapons inspectors out of Iraq. And then fucking Slobodan Milosevic is slaughtering people in fucking Yugoslavia. Yeah,
Right.
whatever. So Clinton keeps building up all these forces, anything he can do to deflect from the fucking Lewinsky scandal that's going on.
Right.
So I get deployed to fucking Germany. What's the base that's right next to Frankfurt, Germany? Anyway, there's an Air Force base that's right next to Frankfurt, Germany. Got deployed there for about 2 months, I think it was, during all of these shenanigans. And we were there over a Halloween.
Okay.
And something they did on the base. First of all, there was a casino on the base, which was like, it was like the NCO club, but there were fucking slot machines everywhere.
Was it is Ramstein near Frankfurt?
I think so. That Ramstein sounds familiar, but
Germany's not one of my jams.
yeah, no. Oh, hold on. We got the ice delivery service real quick. So we got to pause. So what you got there?
It's just ice in a mug. That's all.
Okay. Dave, you're going to have to turn around. You requested the ice, so.
Be careful. It's my favorite mug.
Okay.
I don't understand.
Oh, you will in a second.
Oh my God.
You will in a second.
Well, it's one of Kristen's
Somebody's been listening.
Starbucks mugs,
Uh-huh.
Which you probably bought me.
which I probably bought her. She went through this thing where she collected a bunch of Starbucks mugs. They had these locale mugs. And
Now listen, I've been with Jason when he's been on the Starbucks mug adventure.
yeah.
Of trying
Oh,
to
it's
find
Dallas.
one too.
It's fucking Dallas, Texas. Of course. Of course. Get this out of here. Break this fucking thing. Shatter it against the wall.
No, we won't do that. So you can take it back.
Thank you. This is very special.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
So it's while we're paused here, while we're on a program pause, and I've overfilled my ice. I have a locked screen. This screen's working perfectly fine. My other screen. So
Okay, well, you troubleshoot that while I tell my story because I've
All
been derailed twice now.
well, I want to make sure. And while I'm troubleshooting this, we may lose. If I have to close this, my StreamYard feed is going to quit.
Ah, fuck.
So
All right. All right. How about this? How about we take a break?
yes, let's do that.
Because I actually do. Hold on. We'll make this official. So we're going to take a quick break while Dave fixes his computer and I have to piss and be right back after this word from our sponsors. And who's our sponsor, Dave?
El Yucateco. It's a dynamite taste.
Yes.
All right. I think. Man, that was weird. Put this back over there. Hey, out there in either YouTube or Facebook or whatever, was there any interruption in the feed that you noticed when it had locked up? I just want to. Computer's very hot right now. It's very warm in here. Stone Bleed is doing some El Yucateco shots tomorrow. Well, I would say make a video. Make sure you tag El Yucateco, tag from a Gen X point of view podcast, so that we can get some cred for that. Yes, it is drink for pee breaks. Yeah, you know what locked it up? So I put up on the screen. See how Lunar Girl? It says Lunar Girl ice cube time or ice cup time. When I click that, it fucking it locked up this screen. So anyway, just a little behind the scenes. A little behind the scenes for the show.
All right. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
For it, yeah. When I click the
Okay. Now, what do I click?
okay, now what do I click? No, that's we're not. The show's not over, folks. Yeah, when I made the thing pop up with Lunar Girl with the ice cup time, like it locked the screen up, but it didn't lock the computer up. The computer was running fine, just the hardware locked. So this was working,
Right.
So I reseated the video connection. And
did you turn it off and back on again?
No, I did not.
So
plugged in.
Real quick while we're on a break, just want to say hi to everybody. Shotgun Mark, what's up, man? Don't get to see you in the chat very often, so glad to see you in there. Scott of the Used and Abused podcast, relaunching September 11th. Never forget. Isaac Sipe, guy that's been with us forever. We got the Fets in the chat. We got the Escape Pod guys. It's fucking good times. It's like,
Lunar Girl, what's the
frequency, Kenneth?
What's the frequency? Oh shit! Trump walks off live media briefing after gunshots ring out near White House.
Oh,
interesting.
Well,
we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. Whole world's going fucking crazy, man.
Indicated that law enforcement had shot someone near the White House.
Got him.
Yeah. Yep. Doom. Done. Before, well, I know we're live.
Yeah,
but before we go back to the show,
this is not going into the audio version. So.
Before we go back, this is for exclusive for the YouTube and Facebook Live audience.
Fuck yeah.
If you ever decide that you want to fucking do something, please take my word for it. The White House, especially when the president is there, is a fucking fortress. Like for every human being that's walking around there are probably half a dozen eyes on you.
Yeah.
Like at a minimum.
I mean, unless you're
like
suicidal.
live eyes behind guns too. Now I'm not just talking about fucking like somebody watching you on a computer screen. I'm talking about somebody with a fucking rifle that if you fucking twitch for your bag or do something funny, your head's gonna turn into a fucking ball of mist.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's regardless of who's in the White House or your politics or anything else, it is a foolhardy enterprise to try and do something like that. It really is. So, you know what? Yes, do it.
Yeah.
If you're fucking stupid enough where you think I'm going to make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your fucking head's going to explode.
If you're stupid enough to do that, then let me quote the Joker. You get what you fucking deserve.
Yeah. So, I know I never saw that movie.
Oh,
I still haven't seen that version of it.
Oh, great fucking movie.
Is it? I heard for people with mental health issues, it's a little, it can be a little.
I mean, I'm no fucking, what's the opposite of completely insane?
Sane?
Yeah, I'm no sane person. And yeah, I thought it was great. So anyway, are we ready to resume?
Yeah. Do we want to throw up the 30 counter?
Yeah, fuck it. I won't even do the stopwatch.
Now that the headset's unplugged.
Yeah, now that we have the technology. So you cue it up.
We're figuring this shit out. Anybody notice our overlay?
Fuck it, we're doing it live.
Custom made overlay.
That's right. So all right, why don't you cue up the 30 seconds?
All right, ready? 30 seconds of silence starting. Meow.
And we're back. So my story got completely derailed. Long story short, I was in Germany. They did the fucking Rocky Horror Picture Show at the fucking NCO Club. They put up a projector. They did the whole fucking thing. They let people throw the toilet paper, the rice, they did everything. So that was my first experience with Rocky Horror doing all of the
at an NCO club. At
the NCO Club in Germany on Halloween night.
Where you could gamble.
Yeah,
you could. And there was a lot of NCO clubs used to be like that. Back when an NCO club used to be just that. It used to be, hey, we're going to the club on base. There was things going on. They supported it. You know, there was membership, shit like that, as opposed to the fucking homogenized fucking bullshit party they got now. I hate it. Overseas, I think the clubs still function like the old days, but
yeah.
I know based on my experiences going to clubs in the stateside, just like, we'll go to the NCO club. No.
So y'all can go to the club.
It's a shit show. It's a fucking shit show.
All right. So moving on. I pretty much talked about all of my different ways of going to the movies. After I joined the Air Force, I think you and I can both probably tell a lot of stories about Biloxi, Mississippi, specifically going to see movies there because Dave and I followed a very similar trajectory in our early Air Force careers, just separated by like 9 months, I think it was.
Yeah.
Because
one training cycle at Keesler.
Yeah. So we just barely missed each other. But yeah, so Biloxi, Mississippi, after joining the Air Force, going through basic training, that was my first training school. Got down there. Of course, when you first get down there, you're locked down. You can't fucking leave base. And then when you do, you got to be in uniform, blah, 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 blah. So for me, like when I finally did get my like base pass or whatever the fuck they called it at that point.
You had to be. I remember you had to be phase 3.
Yeah,
right. In order,
phase 3.
you had to be
Phases.
phase 3. You had to be phase 3 so you could get off base without being in uniform. Phase 1 and 2, you had to be in uniform to go off base.
Right. And
phase 1, you couldn't. I don't think you could leave it off. Phase 2, you could leave in uniform. Phase 3, you could leave in civilian clothes.
Right. And this was in '96, and the first big movie I saw down at Biloxi, Mississippi in 1996 was Independence Day. So if that kind of gives you any idea for when I was down there, what was going on in my early Air Force career.
So are we gonna get into the actual movies?
Well, yeah, we're gonna run down those, but that was
Okay.
just kind of me talking about like the different theaters and the different ways that I would go to see the movies in the 90s.
Right.
Then we can talk about when I got to Jersey after, basic training and technical school and all that, and then all the different theaters up here. But I kind of wanted to give you the floor for a minute and to tell us what other theaters you experienced movies in.
Well, I talked about the drive-in already. Don't really remember a lot, but there was lots of drive-ins around.
Yeah.
In the area where I grew up, which is only a little bit, but fucking 15 minutes away from here, in Deptford, we had one theater. It was the Deptford. We called it the Deptford 6.
Yeah.
But we didn't start calling it Deptford 6 until the Deptford 8 opened up. So it was a 6 theater. It was a 6-screen movie theater, real small. I think when it was new, the floors were sticky. It's like they fucking shellacked the fucking floors and just never.
I think that was standard for all movie theaters in the 90s.
But
the floors were sticky.
Let's pre-stick these things like they're rat traps and then fucking go with it. It's that theater is where I saw Return of the Jedi.
The original release of Return of the Jedi.
Yep,
Nice.
was in that theater. So we had the Deptford 6. It was a General Cinema, I think. I want to say GCC. Is that?
If that's a company, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, there was like General Cinema, and when that was the only theater, like there was theaters in Cherry Hill and everything else, but like still close community set. Most of us were going to Deptford. It was right next to Deptford Mall.
Right.
On the other side of Deptford Mall, which is that theater, that Deptford 6 theater, gone. It's a fucking parking lot. It's the parking lot of a fucking Christmas tree shop. Talk about shitting on something.
Sad
right?
face.
So, but across on the other side of the mall, they opened up. I want to say they opened it up in the late 80s. It was AMC, and that was the Deptford 8, which actually still stands today. It's that same theater, which they've converted now into have the reserved seating and stuff like that. But that Deptford 8 that you would have went to before the reserved seating, that's the one that was there when it opened. The same fucking theater,
same building, everything else.
It had new theater smell, like when we first had started going there. But after that, it was more expensive. The AMC Deptford 8 was more expensive than going to see a movie in the Deptford 6. So you almost wanted to, depending on how the release was, you wanted to see it in the other theater because it was cheaper.
Right.
So we had those two theaters, and I have distinct memories, and it wasn't necessarily in the 90s that it opened, but it might have been. There was a big theater complex that opened in Atco. It was like something ridiculous, like 12 screens, just this like huge theater complex. I think I saw one movie in there because it was a hike. From here, you had to get parents to drive you and all this other fucking shit, right? So, yeah, go down to the Atco movie complex, which we got Atco. I don't know if Keith Lehman from Layman's Terms, I don't know if he's on right now, but it's right around the corner from him.
Yeah.
I think the theaters are still there, but then when that shit opened up, that was like, we all knew about it. We all knew that it opened up.
That was like the new hotness.
Yeah. And it was like, oh my God, they had like a movie on multiple screens. So you had multiple opportunities to see it, but we never fucking got out there.
Right. Yeah. Well, and here in Jersey, you have so many options.
Yeah.
Even back then, I'm sure you still had so many options. You talk about in Cherry Hill and Morristown and everywhere else. So.
Yeah. And what's funny is too, if you think about it, for me thinking about it, there was, I don't think that the theater that's in Cherry Hill right now, where we saw most of the Star Wars movies, their first run when we were doing it for the show, that theater,
the sequel trilogy.
Yeah. What did I say?
You just said the Star Wars movies.
Right. In context.
That was a very vague statement.
It was. But regardless, I forget where the theater complex was in Cherry Hill, but it was close to, like, I went to church in Merchantville, which is like, I don't know,
It's right
five.
there.
It's 5 minutes away from the Cherry Hill Mall. So it was in near the mall complex, and I saw some movies there if I was doing something with the youth group. But like you said, it was still a major, like, here's the outlets. Like, the movie theaters were close to the mall.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All right, here's the mall. There's a couple movie theaters near it, and then you go on, so you find another mall, or you'd find like an independent theater, like where Rocky Horror was at.
Right.
But for the most part, you were going to either the Deptford 6 or the Deptford 8.
Yeah. Now, kind of sidestepping real quick, unless you had any more theaters.
No, that's
comparing the experience then, especially in the early 90s, to what we have now. You remember fucking opening the newspaper every fucking Friday to be like, oh, what time is, fucking, I don't know, Jurassic Park playing this weekend? And there was no fucking internet. You couldn't just go online and or just go on your fucking phone for that matter. Like, being able to go to a website, go to unitedartists.com and start looking at movie times. That was fucking innovative in, fucking 2001, 2002, when we could start doing that shit. Like, the fact that you can just do everything from this little fucking rectangular supercomputer in your pocket, those were long ways away.
Yeah, you were struggling to find a current fucking copy of the paper, which in my house wasn't a problem because my dad got the paper every day.
Yeah.
Or you could call the theater.
Right. Yeah. And go through their menus.
Go through the menu, or they had a movie phone too that would call, and it would tell you. I'm trying to think, that was the early 80s or early 90s with the movie phone thing where you could call.
I have a vague recollection of that. We didn't have that in my hometown, but I remember hearing about it out here. It was a bit on Seinfeld that they did.
Yeah, we had that. What?
Right.
I'm just
Dave just like totally got sidebarred.
I saw a Guy Fawkes in the chat, and I'm like, huh?
By the fucking the chat.
As will happen.
Yes.
But yeah, what was I talking about?
We were talking about, finding out movie times.
Oh yeah,
because I remember having to buy newspapers, having to go to the fucking corner store and either going into the store buying a paper or sticking a fucking quarter in the goddamn machine outside, pulling out a paper just so I could see what times movies were playing that weekend.
I wish, looking back on it, I had a good childhood. I was spoiled in many ways, but the movie going experience was not a big part of my childhood. As we will find out when we're talking about all the movies, because your list is substantially more than mine.
Right.
And my list doesn't start getting more populated until I've gotten to the Air Force and have a little bit more control over my life.
Well, yeah, and don't get me wrong, like the early 90s for me, I didn't see movies that often. That didn't start picking up until you started getting into your Terminator 2s and your fucking Jurassic Parks. And even then, it wasn't that often. It wasn't until, again, high school when we all started fucking getting our driver's licenses and we're able to go to the fucking drive-in theater ourselves. But yeah. So just real quick to kind of go back to what we were talking about. Assigned seats? We were like fucking 3 decades away from any of that shit.
Fuck. When we saw Force Awakens, we went to a theater with no reserved seating. It was general admission, and we got there fucking 4 hours early,
something like that.
It was like 3. Well, I think 4 hours early.
And we weren't even the first ones.
Nope. We were like 35th to 40th in line.
Yeah,
like waiting to get into the theater.
Yeah, this was the IMAX 3D, the first showing of Force Awakens in 2015.
Yeah. Well, and for us, the theater was occupied for the very, very first ones. Like, we went to the 11 o'clock show. They had the 5 o'clock show or 6 o'clock show in front of us.
Right.
So we had to wait outside the theater. And that was part of the experience. That was the same experience that I had in 1983 with fucking Return of the Jedi.
Or even for that matter in 99 when the Phantom Menace came out.
When we get to 99 and we start talking about that and Phantom Menace, I have a unique experience for Phantom Menace.
Sure. Yeah. So, but yeah, assigned seats. No, that was not a thing at all. In fact, if you were not the type of person that had the foresight to make sure you got to the fucking theater early, especially if it was a big time movie, which I was never in that camp because I always fucking knew. Because if you get there fucking late, you're sitting way on the fucking sides or way in the fucking front. And nope. No, thank you.
It was, you had to get there early. You had to get there early. You had to wait till the fucking theater was not going to be so full.
Yeah.
I've never been a huge fan of crowds, and that was one of the things. It was just, I'd rather go when I don't have to miss half the movie while I'm trying to get fucking popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the other thing too. Like getting in, it's like getting in line for popcorn and shit like that. It was one fucking cash register, one popcorn machine, one fucking acne-induced kid that was trying to service everybody. And by the time you got through the line, like I remember as a kid going to the movies, like my father would be in the fucking line and the movie's already started.
Right.
You didn't have 25 minutes of fucking pre-show bullshit.
Mm-hmm. And somebody had to be there to save your fucking seats.
Oh yeah, or you'd be done.
Yeah.
Yes, I distinctly remember my father doing this for E.T. and then for me fucking running out of the theater several times. But that was the 80s. We're not talking about the 80s right now.
Yeah, we're mostly into the 90s. Also, Kristen brought this up. We were talking about this yesterday, and she brought up the fact that there were so many fewer movie trailers and almost no commercials back in the day, even into the early and mid 90s. You didn't have nearly as many fucking movie trailers. Nowadays, like when we went and saw fucking Rise of Skywalker or whatever, it's like half an hour of fucking commercials and movie trailers.
So Jason has this P schedule that he has to be on when he goes to a movie.
Yeah.
And there is a point within the movie trailers. It's like, okay, this is going to be the trailer before the fucking curtain just opens a little bit more and they start getting into the actual trailers. Yeah. This has all been fucking like our show. It's all pre-show banter. And then it's finally like the theater darkens a little bit. The curtains start to close. So like, oh shit, now got to do my last minute piss so that I'm not sitting here for 2.5 hours with my legs crossed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which I never timed it properly. I was always either in so much fucking pain that I couldn't get out of the chair, or I was like, "Fuck it, I know this is going to be a slow part because it's the 4th time I've seen this movie. I'm going to go take a piss."
Right, exactly. So, yeah, and then, but I mean, back in the day, like it wasn't nearly as bad as it is now, and you only just started to get into, a lot of the pre-show stuff, like you were talking about, like the fucking trivia, right? That shit all started in the late 90s. Or the fucking word scrambles, right? Where it was like, this is a famous actor, and it would be Autumn Shank, and it was, it's Tom Hanks, and all of that shit started in the late 90s. You didn't have any of that shit in the early 90s, leading up to the turn of the century or the turn of the fucking millennia, for that matter.
Distinct memories of having to get there, like you couldn't be late. They fucking closed the theater up.
Yeah.
They went late. It's not like you could stroll in there so late. They stopped selling tickets.
Yeah.
At least that's what was my experience.
Mm-hmm. So anything else that you wanted to add as far as the difference between the general movie-going experience from then to now before we start going into specific
No, let's start talking about the actual movies, because I think that there's some
we've got a long fucking list. This could be like a 10-hour podcast if we wanted it to be. But I started thinking as I'm like going through the years and everything, I'm like, what was the first movie I saw in the theaters in the 90s? And I'm racking my brain. I'm pretty sure, I'm 84% sure that the first fucking movie I saw in theaters in the 90s was the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Because I remember in 1990, that was fucking big, man.
Yeah, it was.
Like the cartoon was pretty big. We were a little bit older for the fucking cartoon at the time, but we were aware of it. And I remember the movie being just fucking huge at the time.
Well, we had the video game play that we had in NES. We talked about it. So that was kind of the lead up. And I also saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the theater.
Yeah.
I saw it with Ricky. And I have memories of that because that was the there's several parts of that that's ingrained in my head for fucking ever. That I know I got initially from the fucking movie theater experience of it. The first bit, like in the first 5 minutes with the piece of dudes got 30 seconds, right? Yeah. That whole thing, it's like, oh my God, this is the best. And I thoroughly fucking enjoyed that movie.
And thinking back on it, that was one of the best movies that was based off of some other original content, like be it fucking cartoon or video game or anything. The adaptation into this 1990 version of TMNT was pretty fucking good. Like great fucking movie overall.
It just popped into my head looking at the suits and the faces, right? So the costumes they were wearing were so fucking like realistic to the action figures, right? Because we had the action figures.
Yep,
and
that was a thing.
And like so it was real like well represented that way. The April broad wasn't hot enough, in my humble opinion.
No, she was like an old lady. It's like, what is her ma doing in the fucking movie?
Yeah,
you know, where's the real April?
It was not. Yeah. Okay, so I just thought about it, and the facial structure, like the face movement of the on the costume and everything, just now reminded me of Howard the Duck.
Yep.
And now I just brought up Howard the Duck. He came out in '86, so yeah, it probably was the kind of groundbreaker for that.
Sure,
but yeah, to have like live action with the costumes and the fight sequences and all the other stuff based on a fucking cartoon that everyone liked, it was a huge hit.
And I would be willing to bet. I haven't seen this movie in a long fucking time. I'd be willing to bet it holds up more than that fucking CG movie that came out like 5 or 6 years ago or whatever the fuck.
Well, because I think at the time you film within your limitations, right? So they knew this is what we're going to get in the costume. So you're going to use these angles, you're going to use these stunt people, do whatever. Like it stayed well within its it stayed in its lane. Yeah. As a movie. And I think even in the 90s, we just appreciate it because like, oh, this doesn't suck.
Right.
You know, hey, it's not shitting on the things that I enjoy, and it doesn't suck. It was an enjoyable experience.
And it had a dark aspect to it too.
The whole movie was dark. It was like film dark.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, dark in tone as well, not just dark in fucking actual colors.
Those things aren't mutually exclusive. Like from a movie standpoint, they do that deliberately, right?
Yeah.
You know, how they pan in certain shots because they want you to feel a certain way about the movie. And absolutely, even though it was very plucky, like the banter between the turtles was all very like, you know, upbeat, except for Donatello's fucking god damn it. God damn it, nerd,
man.
Nerd. But yeah, that was
well, and
the bad guy was fucking bad. It was just like, holy shit.
Yeah, no, great fucking movie. Fuck, that might be a whole thing to dive into in an individual episode. Some other notable movies that I know for sure that I saw in theaters was
hang on. Oh, what other ones did you see in 1990?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In 90 that I saw in theaters. Back to the Future Part 3. Because at this point, after seeing Back to the Future 2 in theaters, and I think it was 89.
Right.
I was fucking like hooked. Like I really enjoyed the original, but Back to the Future 2 like just blew my fucking mind. So there was no fucking way I wasn't seeing Back to the Future 3 when it was in theaters. Young Guns 2. Didn't even see the first Young Guns in theaters, but it was sort of this combination of good marketing and the fucking John Bon Jovi soundtrack. The fucking Young Guns 2, like, I'm not bullshitting you. That is probably my second or third favorite album of all time.
No shit.
The Young Guns 2 soundtrack done by John Bon Jovi from fucking start to finish. Great fucking soundtrack. Scott, back me up. But yeah, no, great fucking soundtrack. And again, combined with like some good marketing and just where I was in my life at the time. I was a fucking freshman in high school. Billy the Kid was just fucking smart ass, just fucking, you know, Emilio Estevez played him so good to where he was just like the fucking, just this little annoying little shit smart ass kid that we fucking loved when I was that age in high school. The first Home Alone. So I saw this with my family. I remember it was like me, my mom, my brother, and my sister. My brother he was the youngest of all of us, and fuck, he must have been 4 or 5. But he went and saw the first Home Alone with us in theaters, and we were all just fucking blown away. Like, obviously, it's the funniest fucking movie in the world, especially when you're a kid.
Oh, yeah.
So
the fucking Micro Machines and Legos and like using all that shit. You can imagine as a kid, like, oh, yeah, fuck, I had all these things. And the idea of spreading them out to fucking trip up somebody. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of those where I wish I had seen it in theaters. I really wish I had saw Home Alone in theaters. I think it would have been a fun experience. John Williams soundtrack.
Yep.
Because even then, I think the underlying part of me was like, oh, the John Williams. It just kind of like just made my nipples a little bit hard. You know, just thinking about it. But you know, and after seeing, because I think I saw it on VHS. I think we rented it at one point. I think I don't remember, but I saw it before Home Alone 2 came out. So at some point, I either saw it on HBO or some sort of release like that, or whatever. And that's the toughest part. We're talking about like an era where, there's a possibility could have saw it on VHS, could have saw it on fucking HBO. Like all this list of fucking movies. I've seen these fucking movies.
Yeah, and probably dozens of times.
Yeah, when it was the first fucking time I saw it. So that's why I was kind of relying on an experience to do that.
Right, and these ones that I'm listing, these are ones I know for sure I saw in theaters. Same thing after Home Alone, Edward Scissorhands. I think it was just me and my mom went and saw Edward Scissorhands by ourselves.
Hmm.
Because this came out right around the time of my birthday in December of 91.
Okay.
So, and I just remember me and my mom going to the theater and watching this and just again being blown away. Tim Burton is a fucking just genius, especially in his early days, in his fucking Batman, Edward Scissorhands, Nightmare Before Christmas,
Yeah.
all that. Like, just the guy is just fucking, he's got such a dark sense of the world, but the way he puts it on screen is just,
No, absolutely.
it's mind blowing.
Were you done with the 1990s?
I am done with 1990. Oh, well, one movie that I didn't see in theaters that we may just have to like circle back on is Pump Up the Volume. I know Kristen saw that in theaters because she's talked about it before.
I can't say that I've seen it.
I mean, oh, fuck. Because not only is that like pure Generation X fucking fodder right there,
Right.
but you compare that to today. It's a guy who gets a fucking handheld radio where he's able to broadcast his fucking thoughts out over the radio, which back then it was fucking illegal, and it was all about the fucking feds trying to hunt him down for taking up these public air frequencies and whatnot. Look at what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Look at what fucking everybody can do now with the internet. It's just that's got to be a whole other fucking show in itself. Is Pump Up the Volume, and I can't believe you've never seen that.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Wow.
It's probably one of those that I have to start watching and be like, okay, yeah, I saw this. But yeah, it's a good chance. Listen, motherfucker, that never saw a single fucking James Bond movie.
I'm
Eat
not,
a dick.
I'm not criticizing. It kind of blows my mind that somebody from our generation never saw that movie.
Yeah.
We're going to put a pin in that, and we're going to come back to that.
Okay, write that down.
Yeah, so that is the last thing from 1990.
All right.
Anything else for you?
So the only things I will add to 1990, because I also saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I saw Dick Tracy, the Warren Beatty Madonna joint with. And here's the thing: this is having seen that movie. And I think I might have saw that movie once after I saw it in theaters.
Mhm.
But the wrist comm that you have back in there, we have that shit. Almost all of us. It's a throwaway thing on a fucking Apple Watch to have the fucking walkie-talkie feature.
Yeah,
but we all have it now. Like 30 years later, we have on our wrists this technology that can it can access the internet, it can fucking message people back and forth. We can communicate via walkie-talkie.
Yeah,
it's the whole thing. That was the kind of movie too, where it was like it was done by an animator because the way the colors were, the way the backdrops were, it was like the yellows. It was yellow and black, right? Everything was yellow and black. Fucking Madonna was in her hottest at that time. Warren Beatty was probably banging her, at that point, because Warren Beatty was banging everybody.
And Madonna was a hoe. So.
Yeah, exactly. Pointy titted hoe. And so, yeah, I just remember Dick Tracy and the technology and fucking Tommy guns and shit. That was fun memory to remember.
So here's the thing about that. I distinctly remember when that was out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember when it was out in theaters. I remember all of the hype going into it, all of the fucking advertising. Was never interested.
Really?
Like, never really cared for it. I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, it's not really my thing.
So here, and that actually goes to a discussion on what makes it the memory, right? Because when I was thinking about this stuff, like there would have had to have been significance to want me to fucking get to this movie.
Yeah.
Right. Where I can make sure I got allowance money to be able to go, and had to go with people because you have to arrange a ride and everything. Like none of this shit was in town. You had to get a ride to go.
Yeah. So
when I saw a movie, it was an event. There was a lead in, there was all this fucking shit that had to happen to it. So Dick Tracy, I don't know who I went to see it with. I just remember seeing it.
Yeah.
The other one I'll talk about is Total Recall. I saw that.
Yeah. Now, was that? I think that was 89. Was Total Recall?
I saw it in 90.
Yeah. Well, see, because I don't doubt that, because I remember seeing it at that Crest Drive-In after the fact. I remember seeing it as a double feature with Terminator 2 in fucking 1991 with Total Recall.
No shit.
Yeah.
A little Schwarzenegger fucking double feature.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
yeah, Total Recall was for me as a freshman in high school. I think I went with friends to see it, and it was very the most racy thing in it was the fucking triple tits,
Yeah.
right? I mean, other than that,
remembers the three-titted woman.
and then the fucking horrific dying scene on Mars,
Like,
like Arnold's like,
or when he's
Arnold's bout at the Oscar.
when he's pulling the fucking sensor out of his nose.
Just like,
Yeah,
I swear to God, when being that age, it just every fucking pimple I ever got on my fucking nose reminded me of that fucking scene.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Like every fucking pimple I ever got.
And Scott says that was June of '90 when that came out. So all right,
there you go.
You are right.
One
of the few times.
One of the few. Mark that down.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's all I had for 90. That's all I could really remember based on the fucking list.
Okay, and again, this was the early '90s. This was 30 fucking years ago, Dave.
Let's fast forward to T2.
And that was the thing. 91 was all about Terminator fucking 2. I'd never even seen the first Terminator up to this point. When the marketing started coming out and they were starting to pump it a couple months before it was released, it's like Terminator 2, and you could already tell this was going to be the fucking movie of the year.
Oh my God. It felt like it was the most modern thing you'd ever, like the way that it was in the commercials, and you're watching on the commercials and the fucking the music and everything else. You're like, wow, this is speaking to me on levels I didn't even know I existed.
Oh yeah, and you bring up the music. That a lot of the co-branding of the time was with the soundtrack. Of course, they got Guns N' Roses, who were fucking the hottest band in the world at this point, hot off the release of, or no, I think this was leading up to the release of Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. So, they already had their fucking big debut album. These were their new fucking albums that people were looking forward to. They co-branded with the fucking You Could Be Mine song, which I was huge into Guns N' Roses at the time. Oh my God.
Your transition from Bon Jovi to Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, it was very stark. Very quick transition. But yeah, man, like 1991 was all about Terminator 2. And I remember every detail of seeing it again at the Crest Drive-In in fucking Bakersfield, California, pulling up with the fucking speaker there, looking at the thing, turning up the volume. And
I tell you what, I am really glad that I had the movie theater experience for that.
Yeah.
For something like Terminator 2, because there was a lot of, probably aside from Star Wars, which at that point in my life, like I didn't even really think about Star Wars and the effects and everything else. I was just thinking like as a fucking teenager, or no, was I a teenager yet? Math, whatever. At that age, I was like, these explosions are fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The Terminator is like perfect.
Yeah, the liquid metal.
Yeah, the
that.
liquid metal things, and
like,
fucking this some of this shit was just downright fucking terrifying.
And this was the start of computer graphics in movies. I mean, we'd had some up to this point, but this was the biggest in your face CG effects in a movie that just looks so captivating.
Well, and there's such a dichotomy between dichotomy is not the right word, but such a difference between T2 and Terminator. Like you said, you didn't see the Terminator movie, you saw T2, like holy shit, you go back and watch Terminator, you go like, yeah, that was just a lot worse.
That was a lot of stop motion. Like pretty much all the Terminator effects were stop motion.
And if the music was like real, like meh, like somebody was fucking did a line of coke and then fucking just leaned on the keyboard for a bunch.
Well, I mean, I will give the first Terminator a lot of credit because it was almost like a horror movie, like a mid to late 80s horror movie.
Exactly. I'm not into horror movies. That's why. Well, I saw it and I appreciate it. I saw it late in life, so I was able to appreciate it for when did Terminator come out?
The first one, I think it was like 86 or 87.
Yeah, so I would at that point, I'm not watching the fucking Terminator.
Yeah.
But then after T2, and to be honest, I think I did see Terminator before I saw T2.
Okay.
But I was older, I was like, fucking 13, 14 years old probably.
Yeah.
When I saw it. So, excuse me. Drink.
Yes.
Drink, bitches. All you bitches arguing in the chat, fucking drink right now. Do it. Oh, should we answer?
Is it Kathy?
Yeah.
All right, go for it.
All right, hang on. Hey, you're on the podcast.
She immediately hangs up.
Immediately hung up.
Yeah.
I put it on Do Not Disturb. For the record, I put it on Do Not Disturb, but it's probably set up so if my contacts call, it'll go through.
It'll bypass.
Right, so I wasn't trying to my professionalism in the podcast. I did put my phone on Do Not Disturb as well as my watch, but it still rang because it was the most important person in my life, my wife. So
Edward Furlong, by the way, Lunar Girl. So,
Anyway,
yeah. So I mean, 91. That's the only movie I had written down.
I had Beauty and the Beast. Was the other one because I think I saw all my sisters. I think I took my sisters to see it.
Gay.
Hey, whatever. I had younger sisters.
Yeah. And then we come to 90.
Hey, we can all enjoy fucking how Disney animated its fucking female characters. Okay.
I'll give you that.
We've all got that in our fucking spank bag. Still pretend that you don't.
So moving to 92.
Okay, what do I double click?
Hey, Wayne's World came out in 92. You talk about
oh my god,
the ultimate Gen X fucking movie, right? Because Wayne's World, there's a whole discussion to be had about like In Living Color during our time when SNL really fucking sucked, but then SNL had a big resurgence when Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, fucking Chris Rock, and all that whole fucking
Kevin Nealon,
that
whole group,
Phil Hartman, that whole early 90s group of SNL. Oh god, that's worth a whole conversation in itself. But yeah, that big resurgence they had, and they had fucking Wayne's World, which immediately parlayed itself into the Wayne's World movie, which you talk about T2 being the big thing in 91 for people of our generation.
Yeah.
Wayne's World was that movie in 92 for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Wayne's World was the first movie that I had seen in the theaters multiple times on my own volition.
Yeah.
Like I saw that movie in the theater 4 times.
Damn.
Because I had saw the skit, the Wayne's World skit on SNL. I was super into it, right? I just was into it, right? Because as a kid, I did voices and Mike Myers and doing voices and shit like that.
Sure.
And so much so that my parents got me the Wayne's World hat. I had the black Wayne's World fucking hat because I was
awesome.
I was out for Halloween one year. I was Wayne for Halloween one year.
Nice.
So I had my Wayne's World hat, fucking going to see this movie. It was fucking great. It was so fucking funny. Yeah. There was so much relatable shit for people that were obviously older than us on the screen. There was so much relatable things to fucking to our lives. For me, I didn't give 2 shits who Queen was until fucking Bohemian Rhapsody in this movie.
Same here.
Right.
I mean, I knew like We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions.
Heard these songs,
knew of them
until Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody is probably the first. Okay, that's debatable. I was thinking it's the first one that I knew all the words to the song.
Mm-hmm.
I knew a lot of words to Billy Joel songs up to that point.
Which again, 92 for me was sophomore year of high school, which was the year everybody was getting their driver's license in California. So in addition to all of this, we're all fucking blasting Bohemian Rhapsody, driving down fucking Chester Avenue in Bakersfield, banging our fucking heads.
Van Halen and fucking Bohemian Rhapsody. But and then the little nuances of it, the stuff with the gremlin, the Wayne obviously fucking, being out of his, out kicking his coverage for his fucking broad, right? Yeah. Rob Lowe, Rob Lowe, fresh. Is this pre-scandal Rob Lowe or this is a post-scandal?
This is the first post-scandal thing he did.
And honestly, Rob Lowe from that point was fucking the new hotness.
Yeah, which by the way, he was just on Joe Rogan last week.
Was he really?
And they talked about some of that, like him being on Wayne's World. Ed O'Neill.
That's right.
If you stab a man in the dead of winter, steam will rise from the wound.
The donut shop, all the allegories to all the hockey shit, right?
Yeah.
The playing in the street and moving for a car and coming back. This fucking psychotic girlfriend. Like the list goes on and on. The movie hit for me, and I'm guessing for you. The movie hit on every fucking thing. Yeah. Every fucking thing. Even the corniest shit that you think shouldn't work. It all fucking worked.
Yeah.
And it worked for me 4 times in the fucking theater.
That's fucking great.
And that movie was like, that was the tune of my fucking, of 1992.
Oh yeah. Exact same for me and my friends. We ate that shit up. And I would be willing to bet that the adults of that time were like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, I am sure of it. In fact, I need to get my mom. Let's call my mom and be like, "What did you think of Wayne's World?"
But that's what's funny is too, because I think the Coneheads came out around the same time, right?
I think it was a year or 2 after.
Was it?
Yeah.
I loved the Coneheads movie. I thought that movie was fucking great. But it was another one of those like SNL fucking skits. And Coneheads, the movie came out well after it was.
Yeah,
that skit was a hit in the 70s.
Like all of those cast members had been long gone.
But that was so fucking funny. I love Coneheads. There's so many fucking good one-liners out of Coneheads. Oh my god.
I don't even know if I've seen that movie all the way through, quite frankly.
Really?
Yeah.
You should go back. You should go back. I'm sure it's available on all these different streaming services.
Yeah. So some other notable movies in 92. The biggest one that I can remember, I have very distinct memories of seeing, was fucking Basic Instinct.
I did not see that movie.
Again, have you ever seen Basic Instinct?
I have.
Okay,
I was an
all right.
adult.
So
I was
you-
an adult when I saw
So
it.
you know the context. So yeah. So this is me and my fucking buddy Rob and his fucking parents in a car in the drive-in fucking movie theater watching Basic Instinct.
Shut the fuck up.
Nope. That's why I wrote in the
Wow.
notes. Fucking Basic Instinct,
Wow.
a family affair. So
Jesus.
yeah,
That's like, hey, we're desperate. We gotta go see something.
yeah.
Let's
Well,
go do
we
this.
hear this is great. We hear this is this new.
You guys
thriller
needed
with
more
fucking-
woods to play in. That's
oh, there was woods we were playing with after that movie.
yeah, I bet there was.
Um,
The fucking couches probably got the shit fucked out of them that night.
the most explicit sex scenes I had ever seen on a movie up to this fucking point.
Yeah.
It's like, holy
They didn't check IDs
shit.
with the fucking car pulling
It
in
was
there.
the drive-in. It's just like
Nobody gave a shit.
one car, $10, please. One car, $10, please. That's
fucking
it.
amazing.
They just wanted to know how many cars were in your fucking party. They charged you per car. Go ahead.
Softcore porn.
They didn't care what fucking food you brought in. They didn't care how many people were jammed in your fucking car. You could have 10 people in your fucking car, $10, you know?
The
And
glory days.
yeah. And a little awkward watching
you
Basic
think?
Instinct with
You
my best
fucking
friend's
think?
fucking
Oh
parents
my
right there in
God.
the car in the car. Again, we're all in the fucking car
That's when
watching the
you-
fucking movie.
It's when you just fucking just sit on top of the car.
Yeah.
Or
And
find
we
a
might
way-
have. I mean, like in a lot of those instances, we'd fucking get out, we'd sit on the fucking hood because you could still hear the fucking movie just fine from the 100 speakers
Right.
surrounding you at all the other fucking
The
cars.
plethora of fucking listening devices all going on at once.
Yeah, but
Basic Instinct. Oh
I
my
distinctly
God, dude.
remember seeing Basic Instinct in the fucking Crest Drive-In with my buddy Rob and his parents.
I don't blame you. In 92, the other movie I remember seeing was Aladdin.
Yeah.
Not Basic Instinct. Completely, totally, not even close to fucking Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
But I want to mention something about 1992. In 92, for me, like where I was in my life, that's when I talked about it last week about the where it might have been off on the post game, but talking about how there was Summer Dave and then there was regular Dave, right? And Summer Dave did a lot of different things. Going to the movies wasn't necessarily one of them, but starting and seeing concerts. And trying to get the concert going experience and kind of broadening into that. In 92, that's when I saw the Beach Boys.
Nice.
I saw them live in Wildwood on the beach.
Oh,
It was fucking fantastic. It was a fucking fantastic experience. It'll be one of my all-timers moments that'll fucking replay all the time. Just for the whole lead in and everything else. It's that in 92 with Wayne's World and then like the summer of that year, it was a great fucking year. It was a good year.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna skip this one. We don't want to get into any downers, but
Right.
A League of Their Own I saw in theaters.
That was 92?
According to my notes, it was.
Huh,
Yeah, I think
okay.
that was like winter of 92.
I didn't see that in theaters.
Yeah, I did. I saw that with my good friend Jason Suchin.
Jason and Jason.
Yeah, and his dad and his stepmom saw A League of Their Own. The first time I'd ever gone to a movie, and I was like damn near on the verge of tears by the end, because the end when they're going through the fucking museum,
Right.
and you see the fucking like Tom Hanks's like monument there, and he
Right.
said that he died like years before, and very emotional ending to that movie, and I'm just like, real close,
Fucking
came real close,
Pussy.
whatever, fuck you.
Some great moments in that movie, though. I didn't see it in theaters, but very laugh out loud movie for something that probably wasn't written entirely to be a comedy, but fucking
Right.
Tom Hanks in that movie was fucking spectacular.
Of course,
Fucking Amazon bitch. What the fuck? Why can't I
Rosie
think of-
O'Donnell.
No,
Oh, Gina Davis.
Gina Davis. I was thinking G. Yeah. Then I went G, and then I was thinking about anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, Gina Davis was just really cute in it, and like it just It was an enjoyable movie. John Lovitz, to me, that's the funniest John Lovitz has ever been.
Yeah, he
was
was
that
on
fucking
point in
movie.
that way. Well, then this would be more, wouldn't it?
So on my Finney trip, did I tell you I ran into John Lovitz on my fucking Finney
No.
trip? Yeah, in Hawaii,
Get the fuck
in the
out.
fucking at the Outrigger, in the
No
lobby of the
shit.
Outrigger. I'm standing there waiting, or I was either waiting for the elevator or coming out of the elevator, and John Lovitz is standing there. I'm like looking at him. He looks at me. I was like, "Hey," he's like, "Hi." And he gets in the fucking elevator and goes. Like all of the things I could have said, but it took, I was a little hungover.
Yeah.
And it took all of my fucking computing power. By the way, best way to fucking travel on your Finney trip is as a passenger. Just that's
Well, you were a passenger on multiple people's Finney trips.
yeah. Well, I had to be,
Your
'cause
own and maybe mine as well. So
at least those two.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Nice.
Oh my god, dude. So many John Lovitz with the did you promise the cows you'd write? Just it's the funniest I've ever seen him. And it's just a good movie. And I'm a baseball guy, so I really enjoyed the story.
Yeah.
Of all the stuff they had to go through. And Tom Hanks was Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I mean the dude's fucking brilliant. I mean, I can't think of a performance he did that wasn't at least really good.
Another sidebar. So we had a conversation in the house the other night about famous people that like there's because all that Ellen bullshit's going on right now, right? With
everybody's attacking
Ellen's
her.
mean. Meh. Like, okay, she's
You mean some fucking Hollywood prima donna millionaire is mean to some of the staff on their fucking show? Oh my god, my mind is blown.
Moreover, it's a female stand-up comedian that happened to fucking hit at the right time to be able to get famous.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows who knows how we would handle that fucking level of fame?
Oh yeah.
I mean, who knows
no,
what
I'd be spitting all over the peons.
yeah,
at
but
that
like,
point.
all right, peasants, fucking,
Yeah.
piss boy.
Yeah.
You look like the piss boy. But so the Ellen shit was going on. I was like, I'm really not surprised. I don't really give a fuck about what a particular some famous person and how they are in the public eye is different than how they are in the private.
Right.
Because guess what? We all wear our fucking masks. We all do that. There's fucking books are written about it. We all have that thing and how you are and the persona that you cast, because that's the persona you have to have in public. And people like that. Mm-hmm. And then people get to peek behind the curtain and be like, oh, wow, she's a horrible person. Like now she's going to lose her show, the whole fucking bit. I don't know. Again, cancel culture. Yeah. Yeah. Also, yes. Cancel culture in the society right now is creating something like that. And the reason I say that is because Tom Hanks is he's the only person. He's the one famous person that if he's not as just like what he looks like I see Tom Hanks as just a genuinely good human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's got a plucky character. He's just, I look at that guy and go like, if he's not that guy, I would cry. It would really upset me.
Yeah, no,
I want to believe that he is perfect. Everyone else, I don't give a fuck about. I really don't care. Like you can be a fucking shitbag. I've seen plenty of these motherfuckers. Like I've seen plenty of famous people. I've interacted with when I worked at the airport. I got to interact with dozens upon dozens of fucking athletes and fucking movie stars and all these people that fly in on private airplanes and do all this fucking shit and how they treat people. Totally expect it. They're living a different life. They're living a completely different life than we are. Tom Hanks, though.
Yeah.
Please.
You got to hope he lives up to that reputation.
For the love of God. Please.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, 93.
Dragon Buddy, I saw that meme with Ellen and Eminem, by the way. It was a meme out there. It's like, boy, Eminem looks terrible. And it was a picture of fucking Ellen.
That's good. 93.
All right, 93.
That's the year of Jurassic Park.
It's Jurassic Park. Before we get into Jurassic Park, the movie Dave came out in 93. You've seen the movie Dave,
I have not seen it. I know of it.
You've never seen Dave?
No. Dave's not
here. Dave is here. He's right here. He's sitting right here.
Right.
So, full disclosure, I don't know that I saw this movie in the theater. However, when I came across it, and the fact it came out in 93, I had to mention it.
I mean, obviously, yeah.
Because there's movies about Jason, right? Friday the 13th or whatever, Halloween or whatever.
Movies. You got it right the first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is anyway. So, but this movie, really just a lot of fun elements to it. I just really enjoyed it, not just because it's namesake, but I really enjoyed A Fish Called Wanda. So Kevin Kline,
That was a very clever movie.
right? Kevin Kline in that role as the guy pretending to be the president, and then like Sigourney Weaver playing in that role that she was playing.
Yeah.
Like it was a good movie. I wanted to bring it up,
Let alone you being your namesake.
it's my namesake. So, but if you haven't seen Dave, I again I would put it in your queue just to watch. It is family friendly, enjoyable. The premise of the thing is that the fucking president fucking is banging some fucking broad, and he drops, like, he was brain dead, right? So they're like, oh fuck, it's like this puppet fucking all his staff were like, oh, this dude's a real douchebag, and we don't want the country to know that he was banging some prostitute and kicked it. So they found somebody who looks like him and put him in the spot. And it's the adventures of that. It's a good movie.
There was another movie with Richard Dreyfuss that was that same plot, except he was an actor who they picked to be the dictator of some fucking South American country. Moon over Parador or some shit like that.
I did not see it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But same plot.
So we have to talk about Jurassic Park. And Luna Girl in the chat says that she did not like Jurassic Park. Luna Girl, we really like you. This is hurting you right now. This is hurting. This is in 1993 in the movie theater. Some of these fucking shots that they did with these dinosaurs, you could not believe that it wasn't real.
Right?
Like, I could not believe that those fucking dinosaurs weren't real.
And that was the thing we talked about in 91 with T2.
Yeah.
The liquid metal T1000 and everything. That was the start of the computer graphics like being passable in movies. Jurassic Park was the next level of that. This was damn near photorealistic for the time.
Yeah.
And graphics that made it look real.
And the real effects that they had with the dinosaurs, the animatronic dinosaurs that they built for
very Star Wars like with that.
Yeah, with the cast and like so many things that hit, right? Laura Dern, best thing she's ever fucking been in.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking, where's Haldo Swede when you need him, right? He's getting his roof replaced right now. But fucking Laura Dern was perfect in it.
Yep.
Fucking, we got motherfucking Samuel L. Jackson himself is in this fucking movie.
Right.
You've got
fucking Newman.
You got Newman in there as being a little fucking squirrely bitch,
and Jeff Goldblum at probably his fucking peak. Maybe Independence Day, but
when we start talking about Independence Day, we're going to talk about Jeff Goldblum a little bit. But yeah, this is Jeff Goldblum playing his like that at that time. Jeff Goldblum was a sex symbol.
Yeah.
Like when this movie came out, he was supposed to be the sex symbol. Like Jeff Goldblum?
Well,
really?
You go back and, like even think about his character, how he's like flirting with Laura Dern the whole time, even though she's with fucking like Sam Neill or whatever.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, I'm always on the lookout for the next ex Mrs. Malcolm,
Yes. Great line, by the way. And it's the realest, I'll never ever forget just how I felt watching this movie, thinking that how are these fucking dinosaurs not on some motherfucking island somewhere?
Yeah.
It's just like, how is this not fucking real? What lengths did they go through to fucking make this as real as it was? And I had seen it with friends. You talk about the transition from family movie viewing to friend viewing. Distinctly remember sitting with my fucking buddies going like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is fucking amazing. And just dominating our fucking conversations from that point forward.
So two things about this. First of all, this was also where they really started pushing the Dolby surround sound, where it's like something kind of happens in the background and you'd fucking hear it in the back corner behind you, or something happened on the left side of the screen and you'd hear it only from a speaker on that fucking side.
If you were in the right theater.
Exactly. Because the first time I saw this was at the Crest Drive-In.
No
with
shit.
Those little fucking mono speakers. You're not getting any of those fucking.
So when the
T-Rex
fucking blows his load on that fucking.
Oh, you still hear it, but it's
no.
Everything pushed through that single speaker.
Yeah, the first time I fucking heard that sound in the theater, it was like, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Yeah,
because it was really good. It was really, really good.
Yeah,
I enjoy the realism. I'm also like, I'm a nerd of many colors, right? And one of the things I was nerdy about was fucking dinosaurs as a kid.
Yeah, same here.
And we have like, I think you've seen it. I think you finally got there at some point. But in New Jersey here, the first discovery of dinosaur fossils was in Haddonfield, New Jersey.
Really?
Yes.
What?
Yes, we've had this conversation. I
Have
thought you
we?
took the boys there. There's a fucking statue. Oh my God. In Haddonfield, New Jersey. Look it up.
Which, like, I'm on the border of
Yes.
fucking Haddonfield.
It is literally like up the road that way is where they found the first fucking dinosaur fossils.
And there's some sort of display there?
There's a statue that's there. It's like it's a small like platysaurus or something.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah, it's right there. It's in between it's right next to the fucking Episcopal Church on Kings Highway.
Huh.
Yeah. You should go.
Yeah.
You can take the train, go to the Haddonfield stop, get off, fucking walk down Kings Highway, and on the left-hand fucking side, you'll see it. It's right there.
Get the fuck out.
Fucking idiot. Anyway, I know we've had this fucking conversation before. Anyway.
I've never heard of this before in my life.
So one of the advantages of growing up in the Northeastern United States, especially in the area of Philadelphia, is you're surrounded by so much history. Obviously where this country started was right here. And Revolutionary War battles and things like discovering dinosaur fossils and all this other shit, buildings that are standing around us that have been up since the 1600s. So
yeah.
I know we've had this conversation before, Jason. I'm going to message Ben over Xbox and be like, you need to tell your dad you want to go see a fucking dinosaur statue.
I mean, I'll take him. I have no doubt about that. But the fact that we've had this conversation before, I don't buy it.
Anyway.
All right. So
Stegosaurus also.
To kind of hone in on this, I think T2 and Jurassic Park, I think these two movies and what they did for, your summer blockbuster, and the summer blockbuster had really like kind of started to be established already with the Star Wars movies and everything else. But this is where it became sort of expected.
Right.
And I really feel like T2 and Jurassic Park especially planted the seeds for everything we would see over the next 3 decades when it comes to summer blockbuster movies, like visual effects, all of the shit that we see now that are kind of commonplace in movies. The seeds were planted here in 91 and 93 with those two movies.
No, I would agree. You know what else was big in 1993?
What's that?
As big as Jurassic Park?
What's that?
Wayne's World 2.
See, by this point, the Wayne's World had kind of faded off for me. Like,
excuse me. I saw this in the theater because Wayne's World was still like I still enjoyed it. And I was thinking, you know what? I'll go see Wayne's World 2. Yeah. I saw Wayne's World. I saw the first one 4 times in the fucking theater.
Right.
So I'm going to give the first one a fucking chance, or the second one a chance. And it was a sequel movie.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen.
No, it was definitely not the worst thing I've ever put in my eyes, but it was not a theater movie. I could have very easily have waited to see that on fucking VHS.
And I did. That's how I got to see it for the first time.
But it was hey, I was so into it when it first came out in the fucking theater, and when it came out for this, yeah, that was 93.
Yeah, so I'm not going to list the rest of my 93 movies because we're taking a lot of time getting through these. So 94. So the biggest thing I have from here is this was the shift. This was when I almost exclusively saw movies with my friends and pretty much never with my family from about 94 on. And some of the stuff I saw, my first ever date, like the first date that Jason Roscom ever went on was to a movie in 1994. And that was to Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Lisa Gonzalez, my first high school girlfriend. Her and I went to see Ace Ventura because it was like apparently fucking hilarious. Everybody loved it. It was the #1 movie in the country. And it was fucking hilarious.
Kathy was, when we were looking at movies of the age, I was like, and she was rattling off movies like Ace Ventura. I'm like, I remember it being popular, and I enjoyed seeing it, but it was not a movie theater experience.
Right. Well, and again, it was only because of me, because I had just started seeing this girl Lisa like the week before, and I'm like, what do people do when they go on dates? To the movies, I guess.
They cut holes in the bottom of their popcorn so they get the reach in.
No,
I can imagine little
that.
Perverted Jason fucking doing that. Like, oh man,
no, I actually liked this girl, so yeah, but it obviously didn't work. So,
right.
But yeah, that was like the biggest 94 story for me. But I also had this. I've talked about it before, especially in the All Things Star Wars podcast, where I was a big comic book guy in the early 90s. Right. I had just gotten a job when I was 16, and a good portion of the money that I was getting from this job, I would pump into fucking comic books at this one specific comic book store in town. Well, finally, after frequenting this place for a couple of years, the fucking store owner, his name was Cal, He's like, "Hey, dude, you like going to the movies?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, this fucking they just gave me all these free tickets to this movie called The Mask. So, if you want to go see it, then fucking here you go. Here's a couple of free tickets." So me and my buddy Doug, who I did Project VCR with, we went and saw The fucking Mask in the week before it released nationwide.
Nice.
Obviously, The Mask, if you were a fan of Jim Carrey at the time, fucking hilarious movie.
Jim Carrey was fucking great.
Well, and this was
Cameron fucking Diaz. Holy shit balls.
She was probably at the height of her fucking hotness in this movie. My God, her fucking figure and just
when they were doing the fucking salsa dancing scene and that, and Cameron Diaz she's still a very attractive woman, but at this point she was very swing.
Yep. And along those same lines, Cal got me a couple of other advance tickets to a little movie called Speed with Keanu Reeves.
I was trying to figure out if I fucking saw that movie in the theater because I'm like, God, I feel like I fucking saw, because I had a hard on for Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock had that fucking where Cameron Diaz was just a fucking sex goddess.
Yeah.
Where Sandra Bullock was like, oh yeah, I'd probably run into her somewhere.
And she had just come off of Stallone and fucking Wesley Snipes.
Judgment Day.
No, Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. Yeah.
So she was just coming off of the heels of that. And then in Speed,
I wish I had seen that in theaters.
But also, I can tell you, for sure that I saw Speed in the theaters because you know why? When they're speeding down and he's like, "Oh, the fucking road isn't finished," and they got to hit the fucking ramp and they got to jump that fucking part of the freeway where there was the gap in the road.
Yeah,
and they fucking hit it. Everybody in the theater's like, "Fucking yeah!" Like everybody in the theater's clapping. That's probably the first time in theaters that I ever experienced something like that, where midway through the movie, everybody's like, "Fuck yeah!" They're all clapping, and it was a great atmosphere.
I enjoyed the Speed movie. I wish I'd saw it and had the theater experience like that.
Yeah. And then my buddy Doug, he came to me and our friend Rob, and he's like, "You guys have to go with me to see this movie. I saw it last week, and it'll blow your fucking mind." I'm like, "Well, what is it?" He's like, "It's Pulp Fiction."
Yes.
I'm like, "Oh, I've seen the commercials. Like John Travolta's back doing movies again." Right. And he's like, "You have to see this fucking movie." I'm like, "But like him and Uma Thurman are doing like the dancing." And I'm like, what is that? He's like, "Just trust me. See this fucking movie." Went and saw the movie. And I'm like, holy fuck.
It was that kind of movie though. It was that kind of movie that if you weren't already like a Quentin Tarantino fan, if you weren't in fucking into Reservoir Dogs, which I think predated that by a couple years.
Yeah. That was his first movie. Pulp Fiction was the follow-on.
Yeah. And it was the movie that was like, "Oh, you guys should go see this." And it was my group of friends. And it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Mind blown. And mind blown for the reason that I sat there through the movie and was like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. No, like, that was my response too, coming out of that theater.
I need to see this motherfucking thing at least one more time to understand what the fuck I just watched.
Yeah.
Because I had no clue. It was so disjointed. I was just like, all right, we're doing this. And it was great. It was engaging.
Yeah.
But you were lost through the whole fucking thing. And it was like, oh, well, we got to see this again.
Yeah.
Like, all right, well, let's see it again. Go back and fucking see it again. 4 times. That was another 4-time
holy shit
movie that we saw. Because the second time was when the bing, everything fucking clicks into place. The reverse timeline.
Yeah.
Everything else. 1994 Pulp Fiction is probably the only movie even worth talking about. I mean, to be honest, I think The Lion King came out in 94 also.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother generation.
And then a little thing called Forrest Gump, but
Well, I didn't see Forrest Gump in the movie.
I actually didn't either.
What the fuck would I do? Why do I give a shit about a fucking window licker that fucking manages to get I don't give a shit. A great movie, and I love Tom Hanks. It was a good movie,
but I saw it on video. I saw it when we bought the VHS again when it came out on VHS. Yeah. So we'll see it this way.
Yeah. Also, yes, but Pulp Fiction was one of those movies where it was the art of cinema. Like, this is where, as Gen Xers, we're like, this is the impressionable part of us was like, this isn't just a movie. This isn't just a fucking action movie. It's not a fucking T2 or fucking explosions and fucking metal creatures chasing you. No, this is you have to fucking follow along, appreciate what the director and the writer did with this movie to make all these things interlaced to the point where you were engaged in a way that you just didn't understand until you saw it again.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Tarantino's best work.
Oh, for sure. Like, no doubt.
His absolute best work.
Yeah.
And I know there's a huge debate for Tarantino people, I'm sure. But Dust Till Dawn doesn't count, even though he's fucking Salma Hayek is fucking hot as shit in it. But
yeah.
It was one of those movies where I really started to appreciate the fact that there's artists making these movies.
Mm.
And it's there isn't a Gen Xer right now that doesn't have a half a dozen fucking Pulp Fiction quotes fucking loaded in their quiver, ready to fucking fire at any given fucking moment.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It was, again.
Did I just say the F word 6 times in one sentence?
I'm not surprised. Like, if that really happened, like, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever.
Oh my God. That hurt almost.
So,
wow.
So we're going to fast forward.
I should feel some kind of way about that.
We're going to cover 95, and then we're going to take a quick break because, again, so 95 was the year I graduated high school. You graduated in 94, I would assume.
Yeah.
94. So real quick, 95 was a weird year for movies for me. One of the bigger ones that stuck out was Die Hard with a Vengeance. Saw that again with my same two buddies, Rob and Doug, who we saw Pulp Fiction with. Again, Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis, who we had just seen in Pulp Fiction a few months before. A real fun, entertaining movie. Batman Forever was obviously the big movie that year.
Right.
The newest Batman with fucking Val Kilmer as Batman and Jim Carrey, who was just at his fucking peak.
Yeah.
That was obviously the big summer movie that year. But I have 2 more memorable movie-going stories about that. First, my cousin Jeff and I, when the movie Showgirls came out. So
I saw this in the notes. I'm like, no fucking way.
Showgirls, for those of you who may not remember, Elizabeth Berkley,
right,
Jesse from Saved by the Bell,
right,
decided, all right, I'm going to shed this fucking Saved by the Bell image,
right,
and I'm going to do a movie where I'm fucking naked from head to toe in 90% of this fucking film.
Almost naked, like pasty naked, like. And let's face it, it was a huge letdown. It was a huge letdown from the fact that you were hoping to see fucking Jesse naked.
Well, you do.
You
get full frontal in this thing. I don't know what you were thinking, but
maybe I saw a different version of it.
Maybe you saw some fucking edited for HBO kind of version. But
probably.
No, you like in the NC-17 version, you see everything.
Nice.
And this was the first movie that I had heard about that was NC-17 that actually got like a nationwide theatrical release. But, they fucking checked IDs. You had to be fucking 17 or older, I think. And me and my cousin Jeff, like, I wasn't even going to go. But Jeff's like, dude, we got to go see this. Fucking let's go see Showgirls. I'm like, I want to see Jesse naked as much as the next guy. But, I don't know, but no, he fucking...
I'm going to wait until the internet comes out.
Yeah, he's like, no, we got to go. I'm like, all right, fine, fuck it, we'll go. And...
How old were you?
17, I think. This was 95, so I was about to graduate high school. No, I think this was after I graduated. I think this was the fall afterwards.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was probably just about 18, and I think Jeff had just turned 17. Either way. But, yeah, they had, like, 3 fucking stations where they're checking IDs at the fucking, the newer United Artists Theater that was there, where, you got to go when you buy your ticket, show your ID.
Right.
They had a dude at the fucking doors to the theater checking IDs. So they were taking the NC-17 thing seriously. And I just remember going and thinking, I mean, this is pretty cool and all. Terrible movie. But again, Jesse Spano in the flesh.
Which, let's face it, the only reason that movie had any traction at all was because it was a bunch of us, fucking pud knockers, that all watched Saved by the Bell.
Exactly.
And we're like, wow, she's okay. Tiffany Amber's the fucking hotness.
Oh, yeah. She was the one that we all wanted to see.
Right.
But we settled for Jesse Spano's
this is what we're going to get. Then this is what we're going to get.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Jeff and I went and we saw that in the theaters. And I guess the movie bombed. It was not a success. Shocker.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Absolutely shocking.
The other thing that really sticks out for me is Ace Ventura 2 came out this year. The first Ace Ventura was a huge success.
Right.
But the thing about this viewing was it was the last movie I ever saw at the Crest Drive-In.
No shit.
Yeah. So it was me, my friend.
Did you know at the time it was going to be the last one?
No fucking clue. Well, I think at this point I knew I was about to join the Air Force. So I knew this was one of the last times me and my buddies were going to get to go see a movie together for a while. And we went to the Crest Drive-In, saw Ace Ventura 2 and something else. I don't even remember what the other movie was. And I remember just having like just the greatest fucking time. Just me and my friends, and we were fucking laughing. And me and my friend Jason, especially, we were laughing hysterically. I almost feel like we were on something, but we never did illegal drugs. So I don't know if we snuck fucking booze in or what, but we were just laughing hysterically, laughing way more than anybody else around us at a lot of these scenes, like to the point where we couldn't breathe. But I just remember it being such a good fucking time. And now in hindsight, realizing, oh yeah, that was the last time I went to the fucking Crest Drive-In.
Crazy.
So,
and that was in 95.
That was 95.
I'm going to rewind.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to 94. Just because there's some historical. 94, after Pulp Fiction, I saw two movies that are very. The shit, absolute garbage movies. One of them was Cabin Boy. And that was
with Chris Elliott.
Yeah. So you talk about a date. That was a date with an ex-girlfriend that I barely remember the movie. It was just horrible. Good afterwards, horrible during. So I saw Cabin Boy, one of the dozen that saw it in theater. I saw Cabin Boy in the theaters. I also saw a movie called Wagons East.
Oh, that was John Candy's last
movie. And it was one of those where we saw in the theater because we knew it was John Candy's last movie.
Because he had already died before it came out.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, I don't know about you, but that actually kind of hit me because we grew up on John Candy.
It did. And it was like, Uncle Buck just fucking,
that was a movie I saw in theaters. That was in the 80s. But
Uncle Buck, fucking Spaceballs, all these movies. Like John Candy was just one of those guys that you just grew up laughing and loving with.
Even a bit player in
Home Alone. Yeah, Home Alone. The fucking Kenosha Kickers. Yeah. Right?
Polka, polka,
polka. It's really, really big in Minneapolis.
Sheboygan, really big
Sheboygan. Fucking John Candy. But yeah, so we went and saw Wagons East because it was hey, you know what? It's his last movie. Let's give it some love.
Yeah.
Horrible fucking movie. Oh my God, it was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I'm glad we gave the fucking Candy estate some of our $17.
Yeah.
But it was not worth it. Cabin Boy was a better movie than the Wagons East for what I can remember of it. And then, jumping forward to 95, the big movie for me in 95 was a date but not date movie with Kathy, and we saw Point Break. It was a group. It was a group of our friends, and it was, for whatever reason, it was in the theater. Now, Point Break came out in 91. I didn't see it in 91. I don't think. I don't remember seeing 91.
It's
but
one of those things where, like, at a budget theater or whatever, they probably pair it with something.
I think at the Deptford 6 it was playing, and we went as a group of us. It was like double dates, and I technically wasn't dating Kathy at the time, but she happened to be in a group. And we went, and I sat next to her, and I trashed the guy she was there with. It was a friend of mine, but very, very trashable.
Yeah.
So I ended up trashing him throughout the movie, and then a relationship develops, and so forth and so on.
Wow.
But
Savage.
Yeah, so Point Break was in 95. Oh yeah, dude, I totally trashed this dude. It's fucking great. It was at one point I think I leaned over and said, "Okay, he's going to say something about this right now. Ready? Go." Oh, I had a Mustang, blah blah blah. I say, there it is. There it is. Fucking yeah. Ask Kathy about it. It was fucking great.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
But the other movie in 95, I mean, there's a couple movies in 95. Remember Toy Story came out in 95.
So, yeah, I've got a note here. 95 was when I was trying to bang a lot of girls. So, yeah, Toy Story was one movie I took a girl to, Father of the Bride 2, and 12 Monkeys.
Did you see Outbreak?
No. So, I've never seen Outbreak.
Outbreak came out, right? And so this is a date movie with me and Kathy. Outbreak.
Okay.
I don't know why. Maybe I thought it was a movie like, oh, look, she's going to be scared and we'll cuddle, whatever. Dustin Hoffman's in it. I think Morgan Freeman was in it too, right? Anyway, so we're sitting in Outbreak. We're sitting in the theater, and it was in the Deptford 8. Mm-hmm. We're sitting in the theater, and it starts, and it's this fucking monkey. It's the AIDS monkey, blah, 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 whatever. And all this shit's happening, and they start fucking collecting monkeys or killing monkeys and shit like that.
Fucking monkeys.
And my wife's like, I'm done. Like, we made it through the fucking previews, and then the first maybe 3.5 minutes in the movie, and she's like, I don't like this. I'm like, okay, let's go. And we left.
Wow.
So technically, I paid for a ticket to see Outbreak. I paid for 2 tickets to go see Outbreak, and and to this day, I haven't seen a movie. Yeah. But it was like it was like the imagery just was enough for her, where she's like, "No, I'm done. I'm done. We got to go."
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, let's go, and we fucking left. But yeah, So that was in 1995.
Interesting.
And Toy Story was a big part of. I was a Disney kid growing up. Taking my sisters to see Disney movies. So when I saw Toy Story actually is a one of those pivotal. I had a kid in 96. So in 95, when Toy Story was like fully ramping up and like really, there was a lot of elements of Toy Story that we could spend hours talking about, like how our connection with our toys growing up, and it hit us as Gen Xers again, because Gen X point of view.
We were that generation that grew up with our Star Wars toys, our He-Man toys, all those.
And I was the kind of kid that was like, I would be like that. I would have this feeling that if there was a toy that was in the I had a toy closet. I lived in the attic and I had like a small closet where a lot of toys were kept. I would feel bad. I would genuinely feel bad if a toy didn't get played with or something like that, or if it had been in there for a long time. I would actually feel bad about it. So when Toy Story came out, I was like, oh, fuck, it's not just me.
Yeah.
It's just me with this psychosis that has this fucking, that worries about how the toys are, because not that I imagine them fucking playing, but it was like, I had this emotional connection with my toys that if it broke or got thrown away I would feel bad about it.
Yeah.
So,
and I think Scott makes a good point. We've dwelled on 95 quite a bit, but I mean, these were pivotal years for us. 94, 95, the end of high school, the transition into adulthood.
I met my wife. I met my future wife in 1995. Well, we actually met in 94, like 94 and at a New Year's party. But 95 was developing a relationship with my future wife. Planting the seed almost for
no pun intended.
Well, that happens next year in 96. But it was for us as Gen Xers, you're talking about a time in our lives like we're coming out of our teenage years, going into our 20s. The military is now a part of our
because that's where everything changes.
Yeah,
when really both of us joined the military.
Yeah, we both joined in 96, right?
96.
90.
Yeah, February 96 for me.
June of 96 for me.
Okay, so yeah, because again, we were like 6 months off. But we will get into the second half of the 90s, and it'll be quicker than this, I promise. After we take care of some business and this word from our sponsors.
We should break this up into parts so that we could have like we did for the 150th show.
And never release the second part.
They're never really second. There's actually some part in the chat. I forget where it went, but there was a part in the chat where they were talking about the part 2 of that. Bronco Fett, you can listen in 95. Yeah, October 95. What was I doing? I was turning 20 years old. Oh yeah, and I'll pee for my first time, but yeah, Jason's peeing the second time. He's drinking beers. I mean, beers make you pee. It's a thing. Hey, look, we're Gen Xers. We're here in our fucking 40s. At least in our 40s. And yeah, it's a thing. No more parts that will never get released. Well, I mean, this is the new podcast, so it's like the limbo won't exist. Who else saw Wagons East? Anybody else see Wagons East at all? Such a bad movie. Oh my god, I feel terrible. 96 was a good one. I'm getting buzzed. Can you hear the fly? Are the mics sensitive enough to hear the fly buzzing me?
I should have turned on the AC while I was.
Well, you can still do that because I got to pee.
All right. Just turn it on for a quick second.
Oh my god.
It's so hot in here. Oh god. Am I really that fat? Oh god. Sweet central air. That's not central air, it's AC, but you get the idea. Hold on, let me reset my mic because this thing always crackles. All right, so I tried not to acknowledge the guy, but what was with the Guy Fawkes in the fucking chat? Like, is that somebody we need to actually ban from the chat? We need to give you some of you people admin rights. Your Lerner Girls, your Bronco Fets, Solski, Big Lovin', Tactical Sweet if he's in there. I need to figure out how to give you guys admin rights to the chat so you can, bounce.
I'm worried about us releasing the show because it's all on YouTube, right?
It is. I mean, a lot of people, they really gravitate towards the audio versions. Like I know David Schmuck, he's he listens to podcasts as he works because he does a job where
There's 2 flies in here.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. David Struck's in the chat, or he was, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, he does a job where he works all day and like he's on his feet, but he can listen to podcasts.
Right.
Well,
I think that's Brady and Don too. I think they're in an assembly environment where they can actually like have headphones on and
so a lot of people gravitate towards the audio. I mean, so do I to a certain extent because I've got the fucking 45-minute commute each way. So when I don't have a podcast and I have to do that commute, I'm like, fuck, what am I going to listen to? I guess I'll throw on a CD or fucking
an audiobook or something. So, all right, do we want to jump back into it?
Yeah, let me kill the AC. It was fun while it lasted. All right, you do our 30 seconds. And we're back. So let's finish off the 90s. I know we've been the early 90s was sort of slow. So let's try to pick up the pace a little bit. 96, the year we joined the Air Force. You and I had very different experiences too, because you joined the Air National Guard, which National Guard, you're stationed in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're done with basic training in your school, you're just going back home.
Yep.
Whereas me, I joined active duty Air Force. So the last 2 months before I went away to basic training and everything was really me kind of saying my goodbyes to everybody,
right?
My friends, my family, because I don't know when the fuck I'm going to see these people again. Because active duty, I had no idea where I was going to get stationed, and of course, I got stationed on the other side of the fucking country naturally,
of course,
because that's my fucking life. But I guess I met my wife and everything else, and I met Dave and blah, blah, blah. So. But yeah, so ultimately, when it comes to the movie going experience, I was out of pocket for the first 6-7 months of this fucking movie or of this year, because like I said, the first big movie I got to see in theaters was once I got to Keesler Air Force Base, after I got to fucking Phase 3 and I could leave base. Independence Day was like the movie that was coming out that fucking weekend.
Yep.
And I went and saw it in theaters, and it was like, super cheesy movie, but at the same time, just so fucking cool. And it's not one of these movies that's going to blow your mind like Jurassic Park or even be as innovative as Terminator 2. It was just a fun fucking movie.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And that was I saw it this summer. I saw it when it came out. My experience with Independence Day was a double feature because I saw it with That Thing You Do. And you're talking about... Let's talk about how underrated this movie is, right?
That Thing You Do?
That Thing You Do.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen it?
Never.
Okay, so it is Tom Hanks, okay? Bonus points number 1. It's Tom Hanks.
Of course.
Number 2, it's fucking Liv Tyler. And it's Liv Tyler at like, I think she's legal in the movie, but I hope so.
I think so, because this was after she had done the fucking Aerosmith videos.
After that, but before Armageddon.
Her and Alicia Silverstone, which we didn't even talk about the crush, by the way.
Oh my
when
God.
we were talking about the early 90s.
Oh my God. That's we'll leave that for another time.
Yeah.
But That Thing You Do with a Tom Hanks joint, and talk about 2 totally different fucking movies though. We're sitting in a movie, me and my buddy Jeff Ciesla, and Kathy it's summertime. Kathy's pregnant with my son Jeff, and like we just got out to the movies, and I'm sitting there for this double feature, and we're watching That Thing You Do. I had zero expectations of this fucking movie. I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm really enjoying this. Like the music's fucking good, like the storyline's good. Liv Tyler's hot. Tom Hanks is fucking great. Oh, this is fucking great. Wow, fucking feeling good about life. Boo, 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 boo. And then fucking Independence Day starts, and it's like, okay, we're gonna start ending the world immediately.
Yeah,
as soon as the fucking movie starts, let's start ending the world. And I think I've talked about it on previous pods, but Independence Day, being in the Philadelphia area, it was as soon as the fucking ships started flying over, and you start thinking about, okay, if there was a ship parked over Philadelphia, which at some point in the movie they do talk about it, if it's parked over Philadelphia, where we were sitting in that fucking theater, the ship would be over us.
That's great.
And that went through my fucking head at that time. I was just like, wow, holy shit. And then, of course, when you start blowing up New York City, I've always hated New York. Fuck New York. So I love that. I love the fact that you go to New York City. Fucking 1996, when people in LA were fucking just as dumb as they are now.
I was gonna say that, like all the idiots that get on the top of the building, they're like, "Yeah,
welcome, aliens."
You would totally have that many idiots, if not more.
It totally
lined up
more
on the streets.
Totally, there'd be so many of them. Like, especially if it happened this fucking year.
Yeah.
You want to have a fucking blast? Do like a War of the Worlds fucking scenario with something coming over the radio, or have a fucking movie like that. People would go fucking lose their fucking minds.
Yep.
But yeah, Independence Day with the double feature with That Thing You Do. And I thought it was a really good movie. I enjoyed the storyline because it was science fiction and it had a bunch of characters in it. I just liked it.
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I saw it like 3 times that
it.
summer. Yeah, I must have seen it at least 3 times that summer. I loved it. Bought it on VHS when it first came out, like that fucking Christmas.
I read the books. There's a continuation series from the movie of the books that goes into like the spaceships after they fucking crashed, the teams of Marines that were going in to fucking clear out the aliens that were still alive in the fucking spaceships. And there was a whole thing. It was a whole fucking thing, man. It was so fucking good.
I didn't even know that.
I got super into it. And it's one of those movies that we have movies that we own perpetually on all media, right?
Yeah. Star Wars being the biggest.
Star Wars is obviously the biggest one.
Mm.
But Independence Day is one of those. I have it on every format I don't have the VHS anymore. That was something that was at my parents' house.
I'd be willing to bet my mom still has our original VHS.
But I have it on DVD. I have it, digitally, Blu-ray. It's just one of those movies. And for 1996, it holds up pretty well.
Yeah.
It holds up pretty well, I think.
Yeah. Oh, you did not shoot that green shit at me.
Yeah. Will Smith, that is Will Smithiness. It's just and like we alluded to earlier with the fucking Malcolm Twinkle Tits. Oh fuck, I can't think of his name right now. I sell apartments now. What does that fucking guy say?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Oh my god, it's the science nerd that comes in and saves the fucking day.
Jeff Goldblum?
Jeff Goldblum, thank you. Why did I think it began with an M?
Why is he selling real estate? I don't know.
He sells apartments now for apartments.com. He does. He totally does. He sells apartments.com.
Okay.
I'm not having a stroke.
Sure, Dave.
It is pretty warm in here, but I'm not having a stroke.
Yeah. Okay. So, but yeah, then after Independence Day, when I started getting more freedom down at Biloxi, saw a shitload of movies that fucking summer. So some of the movies that I fucking saw, The Cable Guy was the next big movie. Jim Carrey, he had done Batman Forever, Ace Ventura 2. He wanted to start kind of going in some different directions. I loved The Cable Guy. I thought it was a great fucking movie. The masses didn't respond to it nearly as much.
I didn't enjoy it.
I think that's one of those movies that I think would hold the test of time. I haven't seen it in a long fucking time. But saw
Matthew Broderick in one of the last movies that he did for a long time.
Yeah. Saw The Nutty Professor with fucking Eddie Murphy, when he was in the fat suits and everything else and farting and all that. Like, everybody loves a good fart joke. And you have like 50 in that movie.
Look at my little Hercules. Hercules.
Exactly. Saw Multiplicity with Michael Keaton. Saw that multiple times that summer. Because I've always loved the sci-fi notion of cloning, right? Cloning another human being and having like the same fucking memories and all that. I fucking love that shit. They did that shit in the comic books and everything. I fucking ate it all up. So when I saw they were doing something like that in the movies, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to see that. Even though it was a comedy.
You know why I never saw it? Because I can't picture Mr. Mom doing that. Like looking at the like Michael Keaton is two things to me. He is Batman. And he's Mr. Mom. And Mr. Mom is going in the Wayback Machine.
Indeed.
But that was one of my developmental fucking movies as a kid. When Multiplicity was coming out with the fucking the trailers and everything else, I'm just like, I don't want to see Mr. Mom like multiplied. I wasn't into it.
Yeah.
It might have been a very good movie. I may have enjoyed it, but no, it just fell off my fucking radar.
Well, yeah. And it's one of those movies in hindsight because it was, I think I talked about this on All Things Star Wars like several months ago, where I discovered that IMDb has its own streaming service. You just have to create an account, and they've got a fucking dozens of movies on there. Multiplicity was one of them.
No shit.
So I'm like, oh shit, I'll go watch this again.
Go get Michael Keaton, 14 cents.
Indeed. So, and then that was when I got sent to McGuire Air Force Base, New Jersey at the end of 96.
Right.
No fucking car, no idea what the fuck was going on. Thankfully, my buddy Jim, who I've talked about on the All Things Star Wars podcast.
Is this anal guy?
Really big Star Wars fan. Also really big into anal sex. He would tell me about it all the time.
That was his conquest move.
Indeed. So, but he showed me the fucking bus schedule, because in New Jersey, compared to fucking California, New Jersey has a very good transit system, be it trains, buses, whatnot. Coming from fucking Bakersfield, California, no fucking just exposure at all to anything like that. So Jim schooled me on like, here's the fucking bus schedule. And then we'd start taking the bus to the fucking Morristown Mall or the Cherry Hill Mall, and the movie theaters connected to those. And then I start seeing movies. And I think it was at the end of 96 when I took the bus to the fucking Morristown Mall to see Star Trek First Contact.
You know, I was trying to figure out if I had actually seen that movie in the theater, and I couldn't remember if I did or not. So I left it off my list. It's one of my favorite Star Trek movies, though.
Yeah. It probably is the best pure Star Trek movie. But, well, maybe Wrath of Khan too. And then the reboot was also pretty good too.
The reboots are good. I like the one where it had, was it Generations? No, it was the next one after First Contact. It was
Insurrection?
Not Insurrection.
That movie sucked.
Where it had the next
Fountain of Youth and all that?
No, the Next Generation cast.
That was Generations. That was before First Contact.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, Dave's obviously not a Star Trek guy.
I'm not. I watched the Star Trek movies, and that's it.
Right. But then it was early 97 when the re-releases, the special editions of Star Wars came out. And I took the bus from fucking McGuire Air Force Base, New Jersey to the fucking Morristown Mall, every other week to see the next Star Wars special edition re-release at the fucking Morristown Mall.
That's funny.
Yeah. By myself, which, by the way, I didn't even get into. I started seeing movies by myself in 94. At first it was like very lonely, but there were movies that were out there that I wanted to see that my friends didn't. So I'm like, all right,
fuck it. Just go.
So I took that leap. And then from then on, I had no qualms about, seeing movies by myself.
That for nerds is a little bit easier, I think.
Yeah.
Dragon Buddy in the chat says he took a girl on a date to Star Wars in 97. She fell asleep.
Well,
I hope that's not Luna Girl.
I was going to say
that would be upsetting.
Yeah. Was that Luna Girl? So we didn't even talk about your 96. So did you have any notes for your 96?
The only thing we talked about Independence Day. That was the biggest one. And I saw Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Oh yeah. Me too.
Like Beavis and Butthead was, yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a big part of like the Generation X and the MTV generation and shit like that.
That's a discussion for a whole other episode, honestly. And then Beavis and Butthead Do America was the culmination of all of that.
Right. Exactly.
Because the show, I think, had already stopped or was on the verge of ending. So they did the big movie and it was great.
It was so fucking fun.
It was so entertaining.
It was just a fun movie.
Yeah. The desert fucking mushroom trip scene still fucking haunts me to this day. It's like so wild.
That's the mushroom scene, and then listen, we'll cover Beavis and Butthead at some point. Obviously, there's some likeness to us and potentially with Beavis and Butthead in the thing, and I could go on for that's a whole other thing. In 97, your experience with getting to McGuire and starting to see movies and traveling to
the malls, Morristown, Cherry Hill.
And the New Jersey transit system, which I never heard as being good compared to anything, but that's actually pretty fucking funny.
When you come from nothing,
I guess
an improvement.
I guess. For me, it was in 97. I started basic training in July or January 97.
Okay.
So
right before the special editions came out.
Right before. So when I got to Keesler, it was just before the special editions released. When I actually went in phase 2 to the first into episode 4 and seeing that. So Kate would like to FaceTime.
You do you, man.
No, I'm not going to do it. So that was in uniform as an A1C.
Nice.
And it was, we took the trolley. You know that they used to have a trolley. They used to leave Keesler and we'd go down like 98 and take you down to the mall area.
I remember a bus.
It was
that
like
would take us there.
It was like it was closer to a trolley because the fucking AC didn't really work on it.
Right, but it was still a bus. It wasn't like a fucking trolley like you're taking down the fucking middle lane of San Francisco.
No,
fucking Main Street Disneyland. It was still a bus that they picked you up at from the fucking triangle.
It was designed to be more of a trolley than a bus, like because there wasn't air conditioning. Because I remember sitting in a fucking thing, sweating my fucking nutsack off.
Well, yeah, because it was Mississippi in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't even summer by that point. But yeah, so we went down, found the mall area, found Schlotsky's Deli.
Hell yeah.
There was a Schlotsky's Deli right there, which I'm still fucking infatuated with those sandwiches. It's like coming from this area to even enjoy a sandwich from another region, Schlotsky's Deli does it for me.
I think that was still there when I was there for the NCO Academy back in like 2011.
I think it survived. It's one of the structures, I think, where they rebuilt it that survived the hurricane.
Katrina?
Yeah, the survived Katrina.
Yeah, Biloxi got fucking shit wrecked.
Oh, all the places that I had frequented during my stay, because I was 21 years old. I was 21 years old.
I was not.
I was 21 years old at Keesler Air Force Base. So once we hit that phase 3, that sweet spot where, hey, you have a lot more freedom of movement because you're in civilian clothes, and I'm 21 years old. So I became, at the time, for Air Force people, I became a green rope.
And that was Isaac's first job, apparently. Schlotsky's.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love Schlotsky's.
Yeah.
I haven't had Schlotsky's in forever. Greenville, Texas, the last time I had fucking Schlotsky's. Anyway, so I became a green rope. And so I by becoming a green rope, me and my roommate, John McDonald, who I went through basic with, and this is a dude who was like, he was another guard guy, 41 years old.
Holy
like
shit.
in basic, right? 39, 40, something like that.
That's crazy.
So, and he was my roommate. So we fucking went down and I was like, all right, I'm going to become a green rope. We're going to get a first floor dorm.
Yeah.
Right. So we get a first floor dorm. And
easier to sneak in and out of.
Exactly. I picked the shittiest one too. Like nobody volunteers to do the fucking, because you remember, because you were avionics.
Yep.
Right. We were in they had 2 access points to the fucking dormitory, and it had there was one door to access that, and there was a door guard there all the time. So the one door guard, his name was Airman White. I forget his first name, but it was a black kid named Airman White from Green Bay, Wisconsin. His father was the police chief. He was a great kid.
Wow.
But did I bribe the shit out of this kid, because I had freedom of movement.
Yeah.
And even if we wanted to go out the window, whatever, fucking, I would go
on the first floor, so you can do it.
And there was a guy in my class that fucking was he PCS there. Like that was a PCS for us. So even though I enlisted as a guard guy, I PCS to fucking Biloxi.
Yeah, because it was so long. The school was like 6-7 months.
Yeah, I was almost 9, and because there was a break between Eni and for GAC.
Not for me, but whatever.
Yeah, I had a small break, but yeah. So freedom of movement, being able to go out the window, do whatever the fuck we want. Being 21 years old, could go into bars and do this other shit. Fucking so many bar fights. Oh my god, the worst ever. Some fucking hot-headed kid from Philly in the middle of Biloxi with bumper stickers on fucking trucks that said "Save Biloxi, kill an airman." Like there was no spot for a 21-year-old. Like, so if you're in a bar in Biloxi, Mississippi, right, and you're an airman, there was no like, oh, let me go seek shelter because there's like veteran friendly places. Like, no, they hated the airmen on that fucking base. And you know why? The fucking broads. Because none of the broads wanted to be with these fucking local yokels. They wanted somebody that actually seemed like they had some direction in their life, so it would all gravitate to these fucking airmen.
Yeah.
And the fucking locals hated it, and they'd start bar fights all the fucking time. All the fucking time. I watched a dude get his orbital socket broken with a fucking beer bottle.
Ooh.
Yeah. He got Article 15 out of the fucking military.
God damn.
Yeah. Well, he was underage.
Yeah.
But watch his fucking face get broken. Oh my God. It's horrific. Anyway, I tell that story to say that once the little group, like my roommate, John McDonald, and another kid we became friendly with, who was also in our basic training flight, who was a electronic warfare guy. Him and John were both. We would walk all the time. We'd walk from the back gate of Keesler all the way down to the fucking mall.
That's a long fucking way. That's like 5 miles.
It's a long walk in the fucking Mississippi heat in the dead of winter or in the dead of summer. But that's what we did. It was like, okay, we've got the weekend. Let's go down to the mall. Let's go to Schlotsky's. Let's go to Toys R Us. Because honestly, a lot of
Toys R Us.
There's fucking Toys R Us that was right next to the goddamn theater, and a lot of the fucking toys, which
neither of which is still there, by the way.
Oh,
there's a Walmart there and an apartment complex where those used to be.
Really?
Yeah,
fuckers. But yeah, that Toys R Us, you go in there and start sniffing around. I would buy these micro machines, the micro machines, fucking spaceships. They're out there, like I forget the scale.
Well, and we talked about that during All Things Star Wars. Yeah, this was when Micro Machines was having like these big re-releases of Star Wars stuff, and
so I'd get a toy and fucking go see Star Wars, and I'd also see movies like Event Horizon. That came out.
I remember that being out.
It's one of those movies like from the trailer, like, wow, this is really super intriguing, and it looks like it's going to be good. Wasn't all that good.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I never saw that.
I also saw Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World. I was down there for that.
Right. I remember seeing that when I was here in New Jersey. Not impressed. In fact, I thought it was kind of a waste of
it was
my life.
In fact, it spoiled me so that I didn't even want to see when 3 came out. I was like, I'm ignoring that.
Yeah,
I'm ignoring its existence.
I didn't see it either.
But with fuck all else to do, I saw Air Force One. with Harrison Ford.
KC-10 getting blown up in that one.
Yeah, KC-10 getting blown up. And oh, by the way, fucking having a fucking Mercury capsule in the fucking ass end of Air Force One.
Of course.
When you're going through a school to be an avionics technician in a fucking weapon system and that has similarities to Air Force One, you're looking like, yeah, no, sorry. A bunch of fucking nerds in there going like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
But I'm a Harrison Ford guy. I enjoy his stuff,
and it was a fun movie, so I'd say they get a pass for that.
Yeah, I saw Austin Powers.
Oh, the first Austin Powers.
Austin Powers.
So here's the thing: when the trailers and everything for that movie started coming out, I thought it looked like shit. I thought this is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. Remember, this is coming from a guy who has never seen a Bond movie in his whole life.
Yeah, okay,
so
I get it.
I'm watching the trailers for this. I'm like, this looks fucking retarded. Why would I want to watch this movie? And my roommate, Sean Moeller, who I couldn't fucking stand, but they made us have roommates when we became permanent station people here in the fucking dorms on McGuire. He's like, yeah, let's go. I wanted to go see something else. I wanted us to go see like La Femme Nikita or whatever the fuck was out at the time. And he's like, let's go see fucking Austin Powers. I'm like, fine. And we went and I'm like, all right, that was pretty fucking good.
Yeah. Because it had a lot. It was that you're talking about Mike Myers at that point in his career. You know, Wayne's World had run its course. Now you've gotten with Austin Powers. I'm trying to think when So I Married an Axe Murderer came out.
I think that was around the same time as the first Wayne's World.
Was it?
I think that was kind of capitalizing on that.
Yeah, and so there was some carryover into like this Scottish character, you know, with the fat bastard. Get in my belly, you know.
Yep. Well, that was the second one.
That was
Austin
the second
Powers
one
too, yeah.
Regardless,
but I mean, those came out back to back practically.
Yeah, I think I saw both. No,
I know I saw them both in theaters.
I don't think I saw the second one in theater, but yeah. So Austin Powers was a big one. Elizabeth Hurley, holy fuck! Do you want to follow somebody on Instagram that still looks good as shit?
She's like in her 50s, and she is fucking smoking hot.
She's either smoking hot or she has the best fucking Photoshop artist on the planet. But kudos, good,
yeah, good job, yeah. Because if she's not getting photoshopped, she is in great fucking shape.
Yeah, there's
great fucking.
There's hope for all of us,
indeed.
Yeah, not for me. I'm not,
so real quick, I
tighten up that much.
I want to interject real quick. So you talk about meeting Kathy in like 94, 95. Right. So it wasn't until the end of 97 is when I met Kristen. And my actual in with her, the way that I was actually able to convince this girl that I actually really liked, that I met at a fucking bookstore, like I knew she worked at Six Flags Great Adventure here in New Jersey,
right?
Which I was huge into fucking roller coasters and thrill rides and everything else. And also I had just seen Scream the fucking winter of 96, when fucking Scream came out, which you talk about a brilliant fucking movie. Like, I know you're not into horror movies, but for somebody like me, I lived and died by fucking horror movies in the 80s. Your Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Chainsaw Massacres, all that shit. I fucking ate it all up.
Right.
So Scream really like called out to me. and she had mentioned she had never seen it. So I'm like, ooh, this is my in. So I use that as my way to ask Kristen out. So it had just come out on home video. I went to her work to visit her. Like I was, trying to get it in, and I'm like, all right, how can I convince this person to actually give me the time of day? And there were all kinds of people walking around Great Adventure because it was Fright Fest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh yeah, they've all got the Scream masks. I love that movie. She's like, oh, I've never seen it. I'm like, bing. Well, I can go buy the VHS and we can watch it sometime together if you want. She's like, sure. So that was kind of my in for with her. But
how'd that viewing experience go, by the way?
It went fine. Like, we sat next to each other in her bedroom. Like I went to her house, she was still living with her parents and everything.
Right. In
her bedroom, we just sat side by side, just watched the movie. And I think she enjoyed it. She mentioned after the fact that she did, but that was the start of our relationship. And I bring that up to say, from the moment that we met through all of 98 and all of 99, we had moved in together and everything else. Like we saw like every major fucking movie release together from that point on. So pretty much any major movie that came out in 98 and 99, we fucking saw together at that point, because that was what we did. We hung out, we went out to eat, and we went and fucking watched movies.
Nice.
So, and the only other things that I want to really highlight when it comes to the 90s was The Wedding Singer. Okay. So that came out February 13th of 98. So the day before our first Valentine's Day together. You know what happened our first Valentine's Day together, period? Well, a couple of days before that, Saddam Hussein decided to kick all the fucking weapons inspectors out of Iraq, and we decided to build up a whole bunch of forces, shipped a bunch of KC-10s off to Oman in the Middle East. Guess who was on that fucking deployment? So February 14th of 98, I got fucking shipped out. So the last thing that Kristen and I did together was saw The Wedding Singer on opening night, February 13th, the day before.
Nice.
So, and I was gone for like 2 months after that. And then kind of wrapping things up in 99 with The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
To close out the decade with, the newest movie in the fucking saga that kind of started so much of our fandom and everything else. And it was that old school experience, like we talked about. Getting to the theater fucking 3 to 4 hours early, making sure you stand in line so you can get a fucking ticket, so you can get a good seat to watch this new fucking Star Wars movie.
So you know where I saw Phantom Menace?
Where?
Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Huh.
I was TDY in Cedar Rapids, Iowa when I saw Phantom Menace.
That's funny.
Yeah. And it was, well, no, wait. You know what? Now that I've said that out loud, that might have been Clone Wars that I saw in Cedar Rapids. So I was trying to think. So I was at the time I was switching from, I was, Slobodan fucking Milosevic, whatever fucking sack. He was doing shit. So I was activated. So I got ready to go on deployment in 99. Like 99 was a big year for a bunch of stuff, right?
Oh yeah, same here.
Beginning of 99 was like, okay, we're going to deploy. All right, let's get married. Boom. Kathy and I get married. Like, yeah, I'm blowing over that really quick. But,
yeah, we got married.
Yeah, whatever. So get ready to deploy. Deployment doesn't happen, so we fucking stay on orders, and like this whole sequence of events that kept me on basically activation orders through the entirety of 99 up until the point where I was like, all right, well, the fucking computer job I have, fucking they're a bunch of dick bags, fucking Office Space 2.0, and so I applied for an active duty job in 99 and got it. And I started in October of 99. So I started with the debt. I think I talked about it before. I missed my first day of work because my daughter was born, the first day of my fucking active duty orders.
Yeah.
And so 99 was like chock full of major fucking life events. So, but the standouts, there still was a couple of standouts for that.
Yeah.
And I forget where I was.
Well, Scott mentioned in the chat the South Park movie. South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. It came out in 99. I don't know if
Frederick Martin also mentioned it.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever laughed harder at a movie in my entire life.
Did you see it in a theater?
I did. I saw it twice in theater.
I can't remember if I did or not.
Yeah. Because I remember I was actually home on leave. My cousin Jeff, who was in the chat earlier, when I was home on leave, he's like, dude, South Park's coming out this weekend. You're coming with. I'm like, all right, fine.
I can't remember if I saw it in the theater or not.
Dude,
I really can't.
That was the funniest fucking movie I had ever seen in my life up to that point.
It is still, you watch it right now. Watch it right now. If you're listening to this, stop. Watch South Park the movie.
Yeah.
Tell me you haven't seen. Here's some of the stuff that probably won't land. The Saddam Hussein shit, right? Because there's kids right now that fucking have lived almost their entire lives not understanding what type of character Saddam Hussein was.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why, again, this is such a Gen X fucking movie.
Yeah.
Because like South Park in general, we could do a couple episodes just on that and the impact that had when it came out, and the fact that current generations, not only would they probably not get a lot of it, they'd probably be so offended. I can't believe they're saying that in a movie. Oh, that's terrible. You know, where we were eating that shit up.
Operation Get Behind the Darkies. That whole fucking sequence was
I don't listen to hip hop.
That whole fucking sequence was
Holy shit.
My God. Just, yeah, you're right.
They never do, especially this year of all fucking years.
Fucking Saddam Hussein with the fucking dildos.
Yeah.
That's like fucking, yeah. Whether or not I saw it in the movie theater is almost irrelevant because it is a movie that defines what we were able to get away with in this fucking generation.
Yeah.
In 97, when South Park came out, we can talk about a whole shitload of stuff. Like looking at a 13-inch television in my fucking dorm room in Keesler, watching fucking South Park for the first time.
Oh yeah. I have some Air Force stories specific to that, but we'll put a pin in that, and we'll come back to that. So
don't make me start saying what we're Prime Boy trying to do.
The funny part about the whole 90s movie experience is not a whole lot changed from the beginning to the end, with the exception of the advent of the internet. Right. But even in 99, when the internet was really starting to get a lot of mainstream use, there still wasn't things like assigned seats. Even buying tickets online was not really a thing that you did. You still, you would go online to check movie times.
Yeah.
And then still go to the theater and give them your fucking cash and get your fucking movie tickets and go in and see the movie.
Yep.
So as far as the theater going experience, I guess the biggest advance, besides some of the technological things like the digital surround sound and whatnot, was the stadium seating. Because in most of those early theaters, it was just kind of like the gradual hill,
right?
And not the fucking stadium seating to where, if you're 5'6" like me and there was a 6'2" guy in front of you,
you're fucked.
You saw the back of his head for a good portion of the fucking night.
Yep.
So whereas stadium seating kind of fixed that, but yeah, stadium seating didn't really start getting adopted on a wide scale until that 98, 99 and into the early 2000s. So. Yeah, we were still, by the end of the decade, dealing with a lot of the archaic things that we were dealing with at the beginning of the decade.
Yeah, I think the only different movie experience besides a drive-in and the Dolby experience that had in the higher end theaters, I want to say, is the IMAX experience.
Oh, so IMAX.
So IMAX for us in the Philadelphia area. I'm looking it up right now because I don't want to fuck up the dates.
See, and the funny thing with that is I actually do remember going on a field trip. We had one IMAX screen in California. It was in LA. And I remember this was in middle school, going on a field trip and seeing a fucking IMAX movie. And it was something filmed specifically for IMAX. It wasn't like a commercial release on an IMAX screen. It was just like it was the Grand Canyon. It was a movie about the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
And there were
scenes.
Which
is perfect for that type of
because there were scenes where you were flying into the fucking canyon and we're all sitting there holding onto our seats fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Because at the time, I can't find it straight away, but the Franklin Institute, which is a staple in Center City, Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
The Franklin Institute had an IMAX theater, and this is IMAX was this fucking unbelievable thing compared to the regular movie going experience. And I honestly, I think in Franklin Institute it might have been put in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
that's too much for me to try and find and waste time with now.
Yeah,
but I remember that was the only, like you said, it was the true IMAX experience where you were in. Not even stadium seating. You were in seats that went straight up and down.
Yeah, if you lean too far forward, you might go tumbling several.
And I'll never forget. I was sitting in there, and they were showing. It was like a local release. I think something with the moon launch or something like that. And before that, every time they would play something in the IMAX theater, they would show this preamble where you had like this helicopter flight flying through the fucking city of Philadelphia.
Nice.
And it like in that IMAX experience where you really felt like you were like, oh, like fucking God, like you really feel the motion. The fucking sound was amazing.
Yeah.
And they do that. And then they had this fucking image where they basically blanked out the fucking screen and you saw all these speakers behind the fucking screen.
Oh shit.
And it was part of like the introductory sequence. Like, this is what IMAX is. Here's the film. Because if you go into Franklin Institute right now and you walk in through the main lobby area, like past the statue of Ben Franklin, you're standing there. The IMAX theater is right in front of you.
Yeah.
And you used to be able to stand there and you'd see the fucking film. You'd actually see that fucking extra wide fucking film going through the projectors.
Oh,
you'd be able to see it from the outside. So it was like, you're talking about the movie going experience. That was such a unique thing because you're seeing some of the machinations of like the movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see behind the fucking screen where you see all these fucking speakers and what's giving you that fucking chest rattling experience. And then you're getting that full motion of either the helicopter ride through the city of Philadelphia was always pretty cool. Then it would kind of go down to shore and do all those stuff. But so it was like a tour of the area type thing.
Yeah. And
honestly, whatever came after that, I don't remember. Like it was irrelevant at that point because it was probably some 25 fucking minute thing because IMAX was just a new thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The problem with that IMAX experience is that if you go to Franklin Institute right now, I don't know that the experience is any different. And
well, they're probably not playing movies right now.
Well, no, they're not. And in fact, when I brought it up, it said, currently not showing movies like everyone else in the fucking country. But one of the things that I've seen, because we've talked about going to see Star Wars there.
Yeah.
And when you look at the reviews of people that are going to see movies there, it's like, this is very dated. Like the experience, like you were expecting this like broader IMAX experience, and it's just not. It's like the sound's not there. Like it's just dated because it came out in like the late 80s, early 90s, and technology has gone leaps and bounds to what we're talking about now.
To even an extent where a lot of movies are filmed with IMAX in mind, and they film in certain camera aspects to where it'll actually translate better to an IMAX theater.
Right. And you're getting, and we saw the Star Wars movies, like the sequel trilogy, in an IMAX theater.
The first two, anyway.
First two.
Yeah.
And honestly, okay, the sound experience was good. The picture quality was great. Other than that, I don't know what would define it as an IMAX experience, except for being on what type of cameras it was.
Yeah, and it was a slightly bigger screen. But
because
I think the better experience was the 4D when we went and saw Rise of Skywalker in 4D.
Oh, yeah.
That was the better experience.
Yeah, that was the fucking, bringing it back to what we did in the 90s. That's the Rocky Horror Picture Show, because there's fucking water in your face and there's like, you get all this interaction, the chairs moving and shit like that. So just a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Man, I really want to know when they put that fucking IMAX theater in.
And Franklin Institute?
Yeah. Because honestly, like Franklin Institute being what it was, we used to go there a lot, and they had a 707 that was parked. Like where they put the IMAX theater, where they built it, they removed a huge section of their fucking airplane gallery. And the 707 was one of the things that got lost. Like you can go to Franklin Institute today, and like here's an advertisement for Franklin Institute, kids. If you're in the Philadelphia area, go to Franklin Institute. It's fucking awesome.
It is awesome.
Even today, as we speak, right now, whatever's going on in there is fucking awesome.
With the exception of COVID.
And it was awesome. And it was awesome in the fucking 80s too.
Yeah.
But they had my aviation, like part of developing my aviation, like nerddom involved a lot of going to the Franklin Institute and being able to like see the cockpit of a 707 and sit in a fucking an F-86 fighter jet and do all those types of things. Cause it was there. It was right in the middle at the Franklin Institute. I would equate it to, it seems like the guys out in Michigan have the similar experience with the Henry Ford Museum.
Okay.
I get something similar to that, but I mean, I'm sure the Henry Ford Museum is awesome, but the Franklin Institute is the tits.
Yep.
Just saying.
So, social media?
At Gen X POV on everything.
Yeah.
Find us, like us, subscribe to us.
Please.
Do it.
Do it. Make the sacrifice.
It's not even much of a sacrifice.
It's not a sacrifice, but one sacrifice that we are going to need you guys to make. Go to Spotify, go to Apple once we're actually on there. It's
not our fault. It's posted. It's all fucking, we're waiting on.
We submitted for approval and everything else, but please go on there. Give us reviews. Please Dave will suck your dicks.
Nope.
For 5-star reviews on there.
I will not. Jason will, though.
And the caveat to that is, if you give us a 5-star review anywhere, be it Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, whatever, we will read your review verbatim here on the show.
Yes.
So very soon we'll be on iTunes, but please, anywhere you can give us a review. We're splashing out all over the place, like a fire hose.
Yeah, follow us on Spotify. I know we're out there on Spotify right now. Yeah, keep looking for us on iTunes. Once we get there,
we'll be there soon, within the next couple of days.
Yeah, it's a process. It's like anything else. It's a process, and then once we're on there, then you'll get the full experience on that. While you're on social media and you're looking for us and subscribing to our YouTube channel and following us on Instagram and all that good shit, go to, I wonder if you can see the sweat on my face right now.
I don't know. I'm sweating all fucking over.
Fucking hot in here.
Yeah.
And of course, everyone in the chat's like, we don't hear the air conditioner. Well, it's like, yeah, but the fucking microphones do.
Yeah.
And Jason's got to edit that shit out.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, when you're looking for us on social media, hit up our friends at the El Yucateco store.
Our sponsor, not just our friends, but our sponsors.
Yeah, our sponsor, our good friends and sponsors, El Yucateco Hot Sauce. We could very well be sweating because of the presence of this amazing hot sauce.
That's very true.
In the room.
We've got 3 bottles right next to us.
Or that it's 95 fucking degrees outside and there's no air moving in here. However, shopelucateco.com. Go there, buy some hot sauce. Follow them on Instagram at El Yucateco _hot sauce. And on everything else, they're at El Yucateco. Follow them. Tag us in there. Tag our Gen X POV in there and tell them that we sent you.
Indeed.
Because it helps us out.
And if you want to come on to Facebook and bullshit with us, we have a private Facebook group, the Sidebar Cantina. Just search Sidebar Cantina in the Facebook groups.
Yes.
You can apply. There's a questionnaire in there. If we like you, we'll let you in. That's probably the best way to interface with us. Otherwise, I am at Darth Roscom on Instagram. You are
at PhillyDave75.
Yep. And next week, I have no idea what we're doing. We haven't picked a topic yet. So stay tuned for that. But when we do know our topic, it's probably going into that private Facebook group.
Oh, Scott Rasselman brings up in the chat, Patreon. We do not have a Patreon account set up yet.
Well, we have one set up. It's not actually published because we're waiting to get every fucking feed out there before we start the Patreon. So once we're approved on Apple, once we're approved everywhere else, we'll open up the Patreon page and we'll...
Yes. And thank you for asking. And thank you for all of us all of you that supported the All Things Star Wars podcast.
Yes. We haven't forgotten about you. We have lots of swag coming your way eventually.
Jason, that's so... There's plenty of swag.
There is.
There's even boxes to fucking send it in. But
eventually.
They're bringing up in the chat, we did not forget The Matrix. I did not see The Matrix in the theater. I do not think.
Yeah, I saw it on video. I think that was one of the first movies I saw on DVD, honestly.
Yeah, I can't remember if I saw it in a theater or not. It's on my list. The Matrix is a movie in and of itself because that's a there's an entire podcast to be dedicated to the fucking Matrix. So
and quite frankly, the second one was so bad that it made me forget that the series even existed. So
we have different experiences on that.
Yeah.
While you're checking us out, make sure you check out our content creator friends, the Orange and Fett Show. However, they are
SoundCloud for sure,
and they're producing content.
YouTube, I think.
Then you could also check out Layman's Terms.
Yep.
He's another content creator
on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's really fucking funny.
Yeah.
I don't know that you could record me in a car and it actually be worth listening to.
I know the Jersey guy. I love the one where he actually got out of the car to fucking deal with whatever, and
it's fucking great.
Yeah, so Keith's great. He was a guest on All Things Star Wars.
Yes, he was the winner of the All Things Star Wars podcast Fantasy Football League.
Yes,
which hopefully we'll be having.
Yeah, so hopefully by next week we'll have some more information on that. By the way,
hopefully. And who else were?
I mean, the Escape Pod, obviously.
We mentioned the Escape Pod.
Yep.
I see Dutch in the chat. I am Jack's utter sense of disappointment.
I don't know what this part 2 is that everybody keeps talking about.
Yeah, somebody keeps mentioning it, like 150th episode part 2.
I have no clue what they're talking about.
Apparently not.
And then Used and Abused, I already mentioned it once, but yeah, they're having their big relaunch on September 11th. Never forget.
Yeah, so go follow Helmet Fire Productions with our friend Dutch. Follow Big Swede and all his fucking numerous
Tactical
adventures.
Swede, Vader Swede,
Haldo Swede.
Yeah.
There's 42 different Swede channels. They're all good. Go out there and follow him. Console him because he is fucking having a roof put on his house right now, and I'm sure that's just watching the dollar bills fly out the window.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you'll have a new roof.
And the penis is going into his ass.
Yeah, lots of plywood being reapplied. And I think that's it, dude.
Yeah. All right. Well, fuck. You guys got your money's worth today, especially since you didn't pay any money for it. But
you're gonna learn today.
You got a 3-hour show out of us, so
fucking hell.
And we're sweating our asses off. So
Jason,
we gots to go.
Yeah, 3 hours, 13 minutes. Wow.
And I just want to remind everybody, just remember, everything we told you today was true from a Gen X point of view.
Okay, now what do I click?
We're still live, but that was the audio.
That's funny.
Holy shit.
Dude, it's fucking hot in here.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, turn that bitch on.
Oh my god, it's so hot. And it's fucking late. 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours. And here again, I'm thinking, we'll get a good hour and a half out of this fucking topic.
Yep.
So basically, that's the telltale sign that we're going well over 2 when I say something like that. Oh, Jesus. Episode 4. We need to pick a topic for next week.
Ew.
I tell you what, though, the Beavis and Butthead and the South Park stuff, all very big candidates.
Yeah. If we get a lot of sports news, though, I'd like, it'd be worth talking about our sports upbringing.
Yeah. Because I'm sure it was different for both of us, too.
Yeah.
So, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Let's do Beavis and Butthead. Yeah. It's cool. See, here's the problem with doing cartoons. There are a lot of different cartoons in our upbringing that have various effects.
Right. Well, because you go into the younger days, you go into the He-Man, the G.I. Joe.
He-Man, G.I. Joe.
Thundercats. Thundercats. Voltron. Shit.
Yep.
Oh, Voltron was the shit back in the day.
The
Transformers,
the GoBots. That was its own.
Well, yeah, because GoBots came right before Transformers, and then Transformers is like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm the king now.
Yeah, all those shows that I watched on a fucking black and white television.
Oh man.
After school. Yeah, the cartoon episode would be a 4-hour fucking episode. Unless we divide it up into certain things.
Yeah, no. It would have to be individual series.
Yeah.
Isaac, you've got to elaborate on She-Man. Is that really a thing?
You're talking about She-Ra?
Well, yeah, because She-Ra was a big thing.
She-Ra was a thing.
Kristen loved She-Ra.
Yeah, it was a way to market the fucking He-Man toys to broads.
Or girls.
Broads. We call them broads here.
You're a South Jersey guy.
Broads is more of a Philly thing. Yeah, Voltron. There is a lot. So I think with the cartoons, I think we'd have to isolate it to certain cartoons.
Oh yeah. No, we couldn't just do cartoons of our youth because again,
it would be too
it would
long.
be like this was a 3-hour 17 episode. Like this would be like a 4-hour 20 kind of gimmick.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'd have to do it one at a time.
And what you could do, like, I don't know, if you did, we could do G.I. Joe cartoon and then the associated toys.
Right. Well, fuck, that's what most of these shows were,
or toy drivers.
Yeah. And it was, I want to say that a lot of these were created, the cartoons were created by the toy company to then market and sell toys after the fact or in conjunction with.
Ricky brings up Saturday morning cartoons. That's actually, Saturday morning stuff is a group on its own. That's when the Smurfs came on. Smurfs was Saturday morning.
Spider-Man.
I wasn't super into the Spider-Man one. It was on.
Yeah.
Now I think about it, like, if Ricky would have to remind me what my fucking Saturday morning cartoons were because those fucking penguins are.
Yeah. You'd have to You'd have to throw some out there. I mean, I guess we could just fucking Google it or YouTube it for that matter.
Fucking do, but
it's taking a long time for this audio to extract.
yeah, no shit. The X-Men cartoons.
X-Men, you said? So that was kind of after our time.
Well, it was Lunar Girl. I mean, you have till the 80s, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was never really into X-Men ever. The only thing that I really enjoyed about X-Men in our youth was the Sega Genesis game. Did you ever play the Genesis X-Men game?
Nope.
It was actually really good. Of course, everybody played as Wolverine because that's what they always wanted to play as.
Look at a 40-24.
What?
What is happening?
You tell me.
Uh,
Thundercats.
yeah, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man.
Thundercats.
Those are fucking DuckTales. DuckTales.
Oh, I did like DuckTales.
Woo!
When they did the City of Gold. That was my favorite couple episodes. Or the TV show, The Cities of Gold. Did you ever watch that?
No.
That was a Nickelodeon show, I think.
Dude, I fucking... Yeah. You got to think, too. We also watched, at some point in our lives, we were watching Tom and Jerry. We were watching...
Yo, I love Tom and Jerry. I loved fucking Roadrunner and Coyote.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fucking Warner Brothers, all the Warner Brothers cartoons.
Woody Woodpecker. I was really big into Woody Woodpecker when I was like 4 or 5 years old. He knows.
I have to work on that one. I used to be able to do
It's a little throatier, but
yeah.
you get the idea.
Lean back like this. It's tough to do.
Mm-hmm.
Tough to do voices without full throat.
And you just did Hank too, so we don't want you to
that was a
blow your vocal cords.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there was fucking a lot of the Disney stuff because I would try and do voices, try to do that. Oh boy.
Oh my god. Okay. So guys, since you're all still here, we still got a lot of people in the chat and in the video. Last week, I was laughing my ass off. If you go back to last week's show, episode 3, when we went on our second piss break, and I'm like rocking back and forth in my seat. I kept holding up the sign, and Dave kept talking, and finally I went out to go take a piss.
Munchie.
And Dave and I did the whole "we'll be back after this word from our sponsor," and Dave did the El Yucateco. It's a dynamite taste. If you go back and rewatch that was at like the 2-hour mark, something like that. Oh my god,
2 hours 1 minute. I think.
Yeah, 2 hours and 1 minute on the last show. Rewatching it when I'm editing the fucking show and everything, I was fucking dying watching that. I don't know why that was so fucking funny, but just that awkward transition from, you starting like an El Yucateco jingle and just out of habit going back to, it's a dynamite taste.
It fits though. It fits.
It was great. But oh my god. So fucking funny. Go back and watch that. It was great. And the only place you can see it right now is like the video version is on
Facebook Live.
Yeah. So go back to our page. You got to click videos on the left fucking side.
Facebook Not So Live.
Yeah.
Rick brought up the Munchie cheese. Now, so the only reason I remember the Munchie cheese was from the fucking commercials, the toy commercials.
Yeah.
I'm sure I watched the cartoon, but I can't remember if it was our podcast or the ATSW or if it was the Escape Pod, but the whole thing with the gummy bears. Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I had younger sisters. Maybe some of those cartoons I was still sitting through.
No, I was into Care Bears. Care Bears was a big thing when I was
Care Bears was
4
a
or
thing.
5.
Care Bears. Well, that's and we're gonna. That's you talking about the toys and the toy rush with the Care Bears and Cabbage Patch Kids.
Oh, the Cabbage Patch Kid. Like I literally saw like people fighting over fucking Cabbage Patch Kids at our local Kmart.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy. They were investments. There were investments in what? Gummy Bears are on Disney Plus. Shut the fuck up. Oh my god.
Oh, you'll have to go look.
Yeah. Speed Racer.
Muppet
Robotech.
Babies. I remember Muppet Babies. Muppet Babies. Make our dreams come true.
That's
When your world looks kind of weird and you wish that you weren't there.
that's
Just close your eyes and make
awesome.
believe, and you can be anywhere. I like adventures. I like romance. I love great jokes. And I'm all wild. I got my computer. I jump in the air. Fuck, I can't remember the rest.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You got that far. It's not as awesome as DJ Jazzy Jeff, but
Oh, well, yeah, that's
there's so many there are so many cartoons. Honestly, like you could spend an entire episode just listing cartoons
yeah.
and just talking about random ones.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not going to make for good podcasting, I don't think.
Probably not.
Probably need to break that shit up.
Yeah.
I mean, Fraggle Rock was out there, which isn't really a cartoon.
See, that was an HBO thing, and I didn't have HBO or really have access to HBO.
Well, I mean, you talk about the pirated thing that we had. That's the cable TV experience is something that we can talk about.
Ooh, because I mean, since again you guys were pirates, you probably don't have this experience, but I'm sure some of you folks remember the brown box that almost looked like a mini fucking Atari that had that vinyl wood looking panel on the top,
the fake
and
wood,
and the fucking 13 buttons that you would press.
And then it had a switch, so you go like, okay, this is the top one, this is the middle one, this is the bottom one. There's a switch on the side. Oh, fucking yeah.
That was my first experience watching MTV. I think it was fucking the 13th button on there was fucking MTV.
Rick brings up the Rainbow Bright. Scott,
I remember the Rainbow
jab,
Bright
jab, 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 jabber jaw.
Yeah.
There was a cartoon version. Yeah. Full size satellite dishes. Remember the rich motherfuckers that had full size satellite dishes?
I do.
Craziness. It was way easier to fucking climb up on a pole and fucking pirate cable than it was to get a satellite dish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I would imagine,
at least in the middle of suburbia, anyway.
Yeah.
Rick, it would not surprise me if that box was in your parents' house right now. Would not surprise me in the least. And I wouldn't be surprised if we can find one in my parents' house too. He knows what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Your parents, your parents have a weird cable box.
Ready to close this up?
Yeah.
We gave you guys a long show.
Yeah, we did.
So sorry if we have to skimp on the after party, but it's 8:30 and we started at like 5:15.
We did. So
yeah.
Dave, I grew up in a small town of about 1,100 people. Yeah, you probably had some space to throw out a fucking satellite dish. They're not in suburbia. You are not hiding a satellite dish anywhere. I can tell you that right now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's wrap this up.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. It was a lot of fun. Another great episode. I'm loving the new format.
Yeah, for sure.
It's good.
Fucking sweet.
All right. Peace, bitches.
Peace out.